Unofficial Rob Brown lockdown. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. Rob Brown Show.
You stay classy.
San Diego. Anchorman. Good film. There was a period of time there, about a 2-3 year period of time, where like 90% of communication between any group of men was just quoting Anchorman at each other.
Well, I guess I'm just not a man because I still haven't seen it and not really interested. Because Will Ferrell, sometimes funny, sometimes not at all. So
I agree with that. I'm not a huge Will Ferrell guy. He has moments of brilliance.
Other guys, he was great.
One of the greatest comedies of all time. Other guys, absolutely hilarious. I thought he was good in that. Here's what I've said about Anchorman, which is exactly how I'm sure most of you predicted the show was going to begin today. Hard-hitting pop culture topics.
Well, I mean, they told you to stay classy yesterday, so it was in my head all day.
Stay classy, Armada. Here's what I'll say about Anchorman. Anchorman is absolutely a hilarious movie. But I also believe the weight of that movie is carried by the cast, by the supporting cast, by Steve Carell, by, who is it, Ed Helms, Rob Riggle. It's carried by, what's her name, Christina Applegate.
See, out of the entire cast, she's the only one that's consistent. Everybody else is occasionally funny. So including, I never thought Steve Carell's that funny. I know you think he is.
I love Steve Carell.
But I've never thought he was that funny. And all those other guys, Rob Riggle, sometimes funny. I mean, it's just a bunch of sometimes funny people. And to me, it's like, okay, if it's a bunch of sometimes funny, chances are they missed on this. And I get it. It did really well. And it's just, I don't know.
It did not, in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion, it didn't miss. Anchorman 2, not as good. Clearly not as good.
Maybe the multiple times that I've been to the South Carolina Broadcasters Association Star Awards and have had brief interactions with TV people, why do I want to see that on a movie? Because I mean, they're kind of snobby.
Again,
but you've been a TV person, so maybe that's why it hits more.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with that. I don't think you need any experience or lack of or overwhelming amount of experience with TV people. It's just I think sometimes it's okay to just go, it's just a goofy ass movie.
Well,
all right. And it happens to be about a TV crew, a local television news show, whatever. It's just a goofy comedy movie. And sometimes, much like I've said about movies like Transformers and King Kong, sometimes I just want to shut the brain off and enjoy something. I'm not sitting here like, I wonder if this is the actual standard operating procedure for a television station.
I had that conversation with Chris the other day. I mean, when we were doing our Wolverine and Deadpool conversations, like, dude, do you ever just watch it and just watch a movie and enjoy it? As far as that goes, I don't know if you met me before, but I kind of hold grudges. And I was mistreated by a couple of TV people, so screw you. I'm not watching any movie about you.
Again, it's just a goofy parody, but I love it. It is still, I would say, as movies go, when you talk about movies that provide you a bunch of quotes, right? Like there's the movies that provide you a line or two that you can break out here and there. And then there's some movies that are just infinitely quotable. They provide you with a ton of one-liners that you can use anywhere. Tropic Thunder is one of those movies. Tropic Thunder, another one of those, like, this movie has no right to be as comically genius as it is, but it's freaking hysterical. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I've never seen that either. And maybe it's a certain kind of humor that I'm not into. Maybe that's what it is, because those are similar movies, right? As far as you're pointing out, I mean, as far as the ensemble and the humor and things.
I mean, yeah and no, they're very different movies. I think when you talk about Anchorman, it's kind of that classic, surreal, exaggerative of everything effort that you get traditionally out of Will Ferrell, where everything is over the top and everything is what's the absolute goofiest thing this character could say in this moment. Whereas with Tropic Thunder, I think Tropic Thunder is more along the lines of, it is a parody, obviously. If you haven't seen it yet, it's absolutely worth the watch. Tropic Thunder is a movie that parodies, mocks, makes fun of the over pretentious aspects of Hollywood, right? Like the over actors and the people that most of you all despise just for who they are. It makes fun of the over the top elements of that, including an incredible performance from Robert Downey Jr. in that movie, who is in blackface the whole time. But the point is that he is making fun of the reality that there are some people who believe that they are so far above what is deemed normal in society that they're blinded to what that reality really is. And RD plays does an excellent job kind of playing on that trope, enough so that this activity that is absolutely socially unacceptable turns into a parody of itself because of Robert Downey Jr. And then on top of that, you add Ben Stiller being Ben Stiller, Jack Black being Jack Black. It's fantastic. It's one of my favorite movies. And those two movies have provided just an infinite stream of opportunities to quote them in day-to-day life, which to me proves that they have staying power.
It is weird that I haven't seen those, but I've seen Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein and similar movies to those, which I think those are kind of the same thing.
You do recognize that you are kind of in a spot where you're like, I'm not saying you're saying this, but what it sounds like.
What, that I'm old?
Is that you have adopted this mentality of, comedy was good back in my day and it's not good anymore. I know that's not what you're saying, and I know you don't agree with that.
Yeah, because we just talked about other guys, even though that movie's probably like 10 years old. That's more of a recent comedy. And I
think
like
other guys is older than that.
Yeah, well, I was being nice to both of us.
2010's 14 years old.
Okay.
It's not as old as I thought it was. Still old.
Still older than 10 years.
But I absolutely, I think other guys.
What's the most recent comedy that you've seen?
What's the most recent comedy that I've seen? See, I can't say many, but I can say this is true about me for the full run. I see a comedy after it is widely heralded. Okay. I see a comedy once it catches on to the zeitgeist.
You don't think comedy is more of a youth thing? Because I think it might be. I think it's a younger comedy is something that younger people watch.
No, I don't think that it is. The problem is the tone of comedy is always shifting, right? Like I'm a stand-up comedy guy. The tone of stand-up comedy is always shifting, which is why you see so many older comedians going out and whining and moaning about cancel culture. You're not canceled. We just don't think you're funny anymore. Like what you're saying and how you're saying it just isn't funny anymore.
I'd be interested to see if it shifts again.
It's always going to.
No, I mean
the other direction. I'm sure that there's going to be an effort.
Because I wonder if politics plays into that. Because I think it does, and I'd be interested to see if it does or it doesn't.
It depends on, because you have stand-up comedians, you have people like it, and we are coming to sports. Relax, Ray. Or Ghost of Ray.
I mean, come on,
relax, Ghost of Ray.
He's dead, dude.
The stand-up comedy world is usually full of, there's different types. There's observational comedy. There's clean humor, guys like Bargatze and Gaffigan. You've got dark comedy, guys like Daniel Tosh and Anthony Jeselnik, who are two of my absolute favorites. You've got, gross humor. People like Nikki Glazer. You've got comedy that's all over the map. But yes, stand-up comedy and to some degree movie comedy has always been a place for satirical commentary, editorialization of what's happening in the real world.
We both have seen a major comedy recently, and I already mentioned it. Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's a comedy.
That's absolutely a comedy. That's absolutely.
And it has a mix of a bunch of different humors in it.
It absolutely does. And again, I don't think it is politics that shifts comedy so much as it is what is the social voice of, and let's keep it here for a minute, what is the social voice of America at any given time? And this is one of it's America at large, though comedians going from one region to the other can struggle, right? Like there is a guy that I am aware of. I follow him lightly, named Steve Hofstetter. And this guy is a very left-leaning, politically progressive conservative who made his appearance on the comedy scene by being very quick-witted in the way that he handles hecklers, to the point that people were coming to his show just to heckle him to see if they could get him, and they can't. The dude's just super quick-witted. And that guy was touring all over America when he was being that guy, the guy who's mean to hecklers. He was being booked at major venues. And then a handful of years ago, he decided that he was going to start working progressive politics and being more of a commenter on social whatever than be the mean heckler guy. And he still gets a ton of bookings in the Northeast, out West. But I've noticed since I followed the guy, he used to come here to Greenville. He used to come to Charlotte. And now those cities don't appear on his touring schedule anymore, largely because the commentary he provides obviously doesn't fly with a large majority of the people. He's not going to sell out as many buildings. Now, he's also said in years gone by that he did a couple of years of touring bigger buildings, and he just doesn't like it as much as touring and doing multiple nights in smaller venues. But the point here is, it is really about the tone. It is really about being a voice for people who want to use your opinions, but still be able to laugh through whatever it is that they are going through. And that is why spots you have movies like, Tropic Thunder that did kind of come out at a point in time where we were all kind of getting tired of the, Gwyneth Paltrow's of the world, right? Who's out there selling rocks that ladies put up the lady parts. And if you put this rock up your lady part, it's gonna realign your chakra. That's a real thing.
Wait, I thought it was just candles.
Oh no. She sold candles that smelled like her particular lady part, but she was selling like these little crystal balls, pardon the expression, that ladies placed into the lady parts, and they were supposed to like realign your energies and blah 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 blah. But people were buying this crap, and we're like, you are so out of it right now.
Just a suggestion, kids, don't try looking it up at work, because I'm not going to. Because there's tempted to, because I just want to know what if there are different names for each kind of whatever that is, but I'm not going to look.
So Tropic Thunder came out at a point in time where America was starting to push back on the pretentiousness of some celebrities, and they made a whole movie, and it was comedy gold. It was comedy gold. So, I think it is largely about figuring out a way, if you are going to go into commentary in politics or in comedy, figuring out a way to do so in a way that resonates with your audience, knowing that your audience is as polarized as ever before, but it is not impossible to do. And figuring out how you're going to deliver that message in a way that makes people feel better about the world being on fire most of the time. All right, there you go. Good call. So there you go. There's a segment on the place for political and stand-up comedy in America in 2024. I know that's why you're here. We got some stuff we got to get to today. We're going to continue to make our arguments for who should and who should not be awarded the last at-large spot in the college football playoffs, assuming that there is only one at-large spot left. I will tell you how the bracket shapes up before conference championship weekend. If there are, I'm going to call this shot now. If there are 2 at-large spots, The University of South Carolina is going to the college football playoffs, but you need there to be 2 at-large spots. So I'll tell Gamecock fans the teams they're rooting for this weekend. We'll get some NFL news and notes and more. The T.M.F.I.N.R awards being handed out at 7:20. All that and more coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Lawn tractor life. I will address that question when we come back, because that is a conversation that I want to have on the air, not exclusively off of it. Give me 30 seconds, guys.
Currently it's 31 degrees.
I guess that was my fault. My bad.
Most patients have tried all of that and are still in pain.
Every day, Dr. Aaron Wolkoff, a QC Kinetics medical director, meets patients who have exhausted every method to get relief. They've been told surgery is their only option.
We want to stay away from that path, and they come to us almost as the last hope. So we're using our own body's properties to help manage pain, to help slow arthritis down, keep the patients active with no downtime, and getting back to what they enjoy doing. I mean, I love what I do.
QC Kinetics regenerative treatments from our board-certified providers help heal and restore aching joints. No surgery, harmful drugs, or downtime. Call for your free consultation today.
Call QC Kinetics, 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772.
It's better over here. If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has an exclusive rate plan just for you. Right now, get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a line. That's 45% savings.
Have you seen these videos of the Megatron at Universal Studios?
Yeah.
They're hilarious.
On America's largest 5G network. So why wait? At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Just go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 or visit your local store to make the switch.
With AutoPay using debit or bank account plus taxes and fees, 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon One plan benefits vary.
Down Periscope. Joe, that was the one with Kelsey Grammer, I think, wasn't it?
The lottery is again inviting you to choose a side. Carolina and Clemson jackpot scratch off.
You said Tigers. You root for Tigers.
CSCEducationLottery.com for game odds and details.
Can't wait to hear what's next on Wire to Wire with Cole and Diesel.
Tell me what's coming up. Diesel and I will give you our best guess of what the college football playoff rankings will look like on Tuesday evening. We were so busy talking about all the brawls on rivalry weekend, we didn't even talk about the games. We'll fix that. And who wants the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl more? Clemson or SMU will be joined by Peach Bowl CEO and President Gary Stokin.
Diesel and Cole Bryson really bring it on Wire to Wire.
I turn it on and leave it on.
Afternoons 3 to 7 on the Fan Upstate.
Rise and shine, sports fans. That's straight in. Grab your coffee.
Join us on our live stream, Facebook.com/The Fan Upstate, The Fan Upstate on YouTube, or The Rob Brown Show on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. While you're there, you can follow me across social media. That is Twitter, that is Instagram, and that is TikTok. Yes, I'm one of them. All at The Rob Brown Show if you want to come at us in that direction. But join us on our live stream, Facebook.com/The Fan Upstate. The YouTube link is The Fan Upstate. The YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch name is The Rob Brown Show as well. On our live stream, Lawn Tractor Life showed up. Said, good morning, fellas. Does a 3-loss team get into the playoffs over a 2-loss ACC team? And it is a very fair question to ask. And I would say, yeah, probably. This is what I told Clemson fans at the beginning of the year. Fair or unfair is irrelevant. Reality is that the margin for error for a team out of the Atlantic Coast Conference is remarkably thin, as in non-existent. You have to play, and this was proved last year by the playoff selection committee. And granted, and I said this yesterday, we don't fully know yet what the final selections are going to look like, and we can't make assumptions on the rules or lack thereof that they are going to use to pick teams, because we've never done a 12-team model before. We've only done 4. Lonzo asked me the question yesterday off the air. Are we having as much fun with this conversation if it is still a 4-team playoff? And my answer was, yeah, but for a different way, right? For a different way, we're looking and we're going, okay, Texas is in there right now. But if Texas loses in the SEC title game to Georgia, they would both have 2 losses, but Texas would have had 1 regular season loss. Georgia would have the recent head-to-head. The assumption is Georgia would go, but hey, who knows? We would be asking the question, if Oregon at 12-0 was to lose the Big Ten title game to Penn State, a Penn State team that is sitting at 3, would they just move Oregon down to 4? Or is there a 1-loss team somewhere else that they might bump up into that spot? So I think we would still be having these types of conversations. I think we would just be having them about spots 4, 5, and 6 instead of spots 11, 12, and 13. Now, let's talk about spots 11, 12, and 13. The committee last year, and again, working on the assumption that the committee is going to follow the same train of thought. The committee last year, and they blamed it on, well, without the starting quarterback, Florida State wouldn't be the same team. Okay. If that is the logic, and this was pointed out to me yesterday, and I really liked it. If that is the logic, I'm going to dismiss South Carolina's loss to LSU, right? If the logic is, as so many of you have told me, that we couldn't put Florida State in last year in the spot, despite being 13-0, despite being a Power 5 undefeated conference champion, they became the first and only Power 5 undefeated conference champion in the 4-team model to be left out. And all of you said they are dismissed because their starting quarterback is unavailable. And if their starting quarterback is unavailable, then we're not going to give them credit. Not for a game they've already played, but for a game they have yet to play. Well, if we are good to dismiss results based on the status of the starting quarterback, then I am dismissing South Carolina's loss to LSU, a game in which Lenoris Sellers, who has obviously been if not the difference maker for the South Carolina Gamecocks, left with a leg injury at the end of the second half, and then made his way back to start the second half, left at the end of the first half, came in to start the second half, but was just unable to go. So I dismissed that loss. I'm going to count South Carolina as a 2. See how that doesn't work? You see how that doesn't make sense? So what the committee told us last year is that they are, if they can make an excuse for it, they are willing to give at least the SEC. We do not yet know if the Big Ten is going to receive this same treatment. My expectation is, yeah, they will, because they're the second big power conference right now. It's the Power 2. Make no mistake. Would the Big Ten get the same treatment? I don't know. But it's irrelevant in this conversation right now because the teams that are all gathered around there are 11-1 SMU. And by the way, when I say I think the Big Ten will get the treatment, I mean, I guess I can already say to some degree that they are. Because SMU at 11-1, with their loss coming earlier to BYU, a team that did run off 9 consecutive wins, it was inside the top 10 by the time that streak came to its conclusion at the hands of the giant killers, Kansas, as we all saw coming. Ohio State at 10-2 is ahead of 11-1 SMU. So is Tennessee and Georgia. They're ahead of 11-1 Indiana out of the Big Ten as well. Now, Indiana being ranked behind SMU tells me that there is a large weight on strength of schedule as well. I have been an Indiana guy all season. I am a big fan of Kirk Cignetti. And once I get my daggum soundboard back up and working again, I, of course, will play the Kurt Cignetti sounder.
Could send an email to engineering.
I would, but
I can do that for you if you like.
No, it's fine. I bothered Chris like 3 times on his days off, so I'm giving him 2 days to breathe. He'll hear from me today.
I'm good with it. Anybody that's not, that's their problem.
I mean, it works. It's just that I have to put everything back up there. I have to reorganize, which is fine. I probably need to reorganize anyway. None of y'all care. Listen, the point here is, I think that what you are seeing here is a couple of things. I think you are seeing that the strength of schedule does matter quite a bit. Does matter quite a bit to the committee. That is why Indiana is where they were. If Indiana had the same record but played Ohio State schedule, or they had an Oregon on there, they had a Penn State on there, they had one game. It was Ohio State, and they lost that game. They didn't just lose that game. They got beat in that game. If they had the same strength of schedule as in Ohio State and were a 10-2 team, I suspect Indiana would be up there above SMU as well. So they are going to, it is a factor. And I think one thing that I would say about all of this is that I don't think branding is not a factor. I think it is. But they're not going to dismiss everything else. The reason that I'm not calling the game rigged, even though I think that to some degree it is. The reason I'm not going to call the game rigged is there are spots that the committee can point and go, wait. Strength of schedule does matter. Look at SMU at 11-1. They're behind SMU, right? Like let's look at the spots that these teams find themselves in. And let's address that. Now, I do want to point out as well that this conversation will be a lot more solid tomorrow than it is today. Our playoff rankings come out tonight. Let's see what the committee does. I might be very wrong about this. I'm working off the AP poll, working under the assumption that the AP poll is going to be a pretty solid reflection of what the College Football Playoff Committee is going to do. And so far this year, it has been. Inside the top 10 the past 3 or 4 weeks, there's really only been 1 or 2 spots where, a team was maybe flipped up or down a spot from the AP over to the college football playoffs. It's been a pretty consistent reflection. So assuming that logic holds true today, Indiana proves that strength of schedule is taken heavily into consideration. That's why they're behind SMU. But 10-2 Georgia, 10-2 Tennessee, 10-2 Ohio State are also above 11-1 SMU. And SMU's schedule is, I think I looked up the rankings last week. I want to say they were like 48th, 45th, 46th, 48th, somewhere in that realm. They weren't near the top, but it's not bad either, right? The problem they have is obviously that loss to BYU, which was arguably the best team out there. But they got a win over number 22 Louisville. That's the same Louisville team that beat the dog snot out of Kentucky this weekend. They got a win over Pitt, started the losing streak for them. They got a win over Duke, which obviously in years gone by, that would be a joke of a sentence, but that's not a bad Blue Devil team anymore. So it's not the best schedule in the world, but is that enough of a reason that an 11-1 SMU team whose only loss came at the hands of an, at the time, top 15 team sits behind 10-2 Ohio State? Ohio State, looking at the Buckeyes schedule, has a loss to Oregon, has a loss to Michigan, has a win over Penn State, and has a win over Indiana. I would be happy to acknowledge that that schedule is more difficult than SMU's, but like not by a gazillion miles, right? So I hearken back to, I go right back to what I have been saying for the past couple of weeks. I would genuinely love to have a microphone and a webcam set up in that hotel ballroom when these guys and gals are in there coming up with their rankings. I would love to have them in there. I would love to truly know what it is that they value. If for no other reason, then the schools themselves could start to adjust to that, right? If we have an acknowledgement by the end of the year that what is jumping a team up above another team, if we find out that the truly the reason that Ohio State is ahead of SMU, despite having an additional loss, despite the fact that SMU is participating in a conference championship game. And by the way, would SMU jump Ohio State with a conference championship win? I mean, likely they would just by getting one of those 4 spots. But would they I don't know is the answer.
So would they if they lost? Because they would have the same record if SMU loses to Clemson.
They're already behind Ohio State without the loss. I mean, I'll put it this way, and this is what I've said a couple of times. I think I said this last week, Zoe, when you were out. I would like to propose a rule that a team cannot be moved down in the rankings for a conference championship loss, with the exception of being jumped by a team who is a conference championship winner, right? So if SMU loses to Clemson in playing an extra game, I do not think that SMU improving to 11-2 should be moved behind, falling to 11-2 should be moving behind 11-1 Indiana, who did not participate in the extra game, right? I don't think SMU should fall behind Indiana. However, if Boise State wins the Mountain West Conference Championship, I am fine with them moving ahead of SMU. So I'd be fine with Boise State jumping up to 8 and knocking SMU down a peg, but I do not think that Indiana should move up ahead of SMU. That's from somebody who's has been rooting for Indiana all year long. That's the rule I'd like to put into place, because without that, conference championship games to a team like a Tennessee doesn't matter. Conference championship game to a team like Ohio State, it doesn't matter. You're in. You don't have to play. That's why we said the biggest negative, and whether this is good or bad is up to you. The biggest negative that I have about the 12-team model, a model I'm in favor of, is that conference championship games, not every one of them, but many of them, aren't going to mean anything. Getting to them, winning them, losing them. On the flip side, rivalry games kind of mean less too. Ohio State, Michigan didn't really mean anything. Ohio State's in either way. So we'll talk more about this. We'll continue that conversation when we come back. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate.
I know everyone's saying Ohio State's in, but thought Florida State was in last year, undefeated.
Yeah, the difference is
I don't know.
It's not Ohio State or Bama still out.
We'll see.
I am thoroughly I absolutely believe that if Georgia would have been in, Florida State would have gone too, because they'd have had their SE. They weren't going to have a Final 14 playoff without the Southeastern Conference represented. That is my permanent belief.
They're now riding a 3-game winning streak. Now Denver gets to rest up. They've got a bye and will host Indianapolis on December the 15th, while the Browns head to Pittsburgh on Sunday.
You just don't know. We may tune in tonight or look on the internet after it's over and find out that we got swerved. That Ohio State's down at like 15 or something. I will not cry and scream if Ohio State doesn't make it, because I will say they should have beat Michigan. So if they're left out, that's why they got left out, because they lost to Michigan.
I am fine, and this is why Jersey Joe said the CFB committee will never get it right. Here's the reality. It doesn't matter what 12 teams you pick. Somebody going to be mad. A lot of somebody's going to be mad.
Very true.
The reality is you have something that is a subjective opinion. That's what you're dealing with. You are dealing with something that is a subjective opinion. And if this is a subjective opinion, which it is, who are the 12 best teams? That is a subjective opinion. Who are the 12 most deserving teams? Subjective opinion. The reality is everyone is going to have a different metric for how they determine who they believe the best 12 or whatever most deserving 12, whatever are. And there is no subjective way to get it right. This is also the reason that I do fully believe that, and I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, but I absolutely do believe that at some point in the future, college football is going to move to an NFL format where there are conferences, divisions, and a playoff seeding format where you're playing consistent opponents with rotating opponents on the other side so that we have consistent mutual opponents, right? When the NFC South plays the AFC East in a year, everybody in the NFC South plays everybody in the AFC East. And if you do that in college football, bang, there is 4 mutual opponents that we can now utilize as a gauge of performance. I know we're kind of pinging all over the walls about this playoff thing, right? We've kind of hit 1,000 different points. We've kind of talked about 1,000 different hypotheticals. We've talked about 1,000 different imaginary scenarios. Well, if X, then Y. And, we've learned from this year, but does that translate? I know we've kind of bounced all over the place with all of this. And there is a reason for that. I know it's a little chaotic. And I've told you this reason before. It is 100% because there is no perfect way to select the best 12 teams. There's just not. This happens every year in the college basketball world as well, right? Every single year, the week leading up to Selection Sunday, everybody's talking about RPI. Everybody's talking about quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, quad 4 wins. Everybody's talking about strength of schedule. Everybody's talking about all these different factors. about why Team X should be left on the bubble and Team Y should get in, about why Team Z should be the number 1 seed and Team A should be the number 2 seed. It happens every year in college basketball. It's just that with college basketball, you got 68 slots to fill, right? Like there's not 68 teams in America that college basketball fans genuinely believe are good enough to be the national champions of the NCAA March Madness tournament. There's just not, right? It's fun because you get some upsets. Like last year, Furman over Virginia was one of my favorite sports days of the year. I landed at an airport in the great Northeast in Boston, landed in an airport and ran to a sports bar with the lady friend to go find, landed at an airport in Boston wearing an FU hoodie because it was game day, ran to a bar to find a television that had the Furman Virginia game on. And we watched it. And I'm going to keep it a buck. Like I thought Furman was going to contend in that game. Like I thought they would keep it interesting. I thought they would challenge Virginia. I didn't think they'd friggin' win the game, right? And we were all popping in an airport. But none of us, with all due respect, because you guys know I'm a big Furman fan since I moved here, and Jason Donnelly and the gang over there have done an excellent job. They've been great partners, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody thought Furman was a legitimate national championship threat. They're just not there. Could they be long term? Sure. There are teams every year like St. John's and Xavier and whoever else that every now and then make a pop-up appearance as a legitimate threat. Could Furman be that squad? Absolutely. It just weren't last year. But with 68 spots to fill, we are going to get, more than likely, we are going to get every team that is a legitimate national championship threat in the mix. You're not doing that with 12. There's just not the room to do that. If we were going to do that, I would say you would probably need, 20 spots, right? And there are going to be other years where you need 3. You go in and you go, okay, these 3 teams. But there's also the chance of upsets, as there is in the March Madness tournament. Virginia was a betting favorite to win the college basketball national championship last year. They got bounced in round 1 by a plucky little team from Greenville, South Carolina, the Furman Paladins. Well, if you lose that game in that spot, can you say that you are the best team in the country? No, not really. But it only takes one. However, if you lose that game in that spot and you get bounced, there's a lot of other teams that won games like that in that spot. And then they just persevered on. So I think you would need probably, honestly, a 24-team tournament if we were ever going to get to the spot that everybody was like, okay, everybody I think should be in. Because there's a large swath of the country that does not think the Alabama Crimson Tide should be in this playoff mix. There's a large swath of this country that does not think that Boise State should be in this playoff mix. There's a large swath of the country that does not believe that South Carolina should be in the mix. There's a large swath of the country that does not think that the University of Miami should be in the mix. There's a large swath of the country that no matter which of these, pardon the expression I borrow from the basketball world, bubble teams gets in, they're going to say they shouldn't be in. Well, why shouldn't Alabama get in? Well, South Carolina should get in. They're the better team playing better ball today. And even though they lost a heads-up game, they have a better schedule. They won more games against ranked teams. Oklahoma beat the hell out of Alabama, an Oklahoma team that South Carolina beat the hell out of. So even though they lost them heads up, they have the better resume. And I would agree with that. South Carolina has a better resume than Alabama does. Like if that heads up loss didn't occur, genuinely South Carolina's in a better spot. It just did. It just did. And again, here's where it gets funky. You also have Ole Miss. Same record as South Carolina and a heads-up win over South Carolina. Yet, while Alabama finds themselves two spots ahead of South Carolina in this poll, Ole Miss, who has the same record and a heads-up win, exactly the same as Alabama, Ole Miss finds themselves 2 spots behind South Carolina. Someone rationalize that for me, right? Someone rationalize for me the reason that Alabama at 9-3 with a heads-up win over South Carolina is 2 spots ahead of the Gamecocks, but Ole Miss, who is 9-3 with a win heads up, actually a better win heads up over the Gamecocks that Alabama has, they're 2 spots back. All of this to say that no matter how this plays out, and this is one of the reasons I am also on board for a 16-team playoff. Keep in mind, going from 12 to 16 does not extend the playoffs. You're playing the same number of rounds. You're playing 4 more games because there's no more buys in that situation, but we're not making the playoffs longer. We're just not handing out first-round buys. I think that the issue we are always going to bump into with this is that this is completely and entirely subjective. It is completely and entirely subjective. There is no, this is how we do it. Yeah. There's none of that. There's no if X, then Y. There's no flow chart. There's no guide. There's no protocols. It is completely subjective. If there was
a flow chart, we would all see it because Rob would put it on the screen right now.
Every week, we'd be trying to figure out, all right, well, X happened, and the flow chart says if X, then Y. But if X plus this, then go to Z. I'm all about a chart. Every good organizational structure worth its salt has a flow chart that outlines what to do and what happens if this happens versus that. That way there's no mistakes. We have already tried these things. This is the way it worked the best. Let's do it. So, with all of that being said, I think the thing that I have said more over the past 2 weeks, certainly over the past 2 days, to Gamecock football fans. I think the thing that I have said the most over this period of time is this. The unfortunate reality for those of you that still have a dog in the playoff race. The determination for which of them dogs get into the race and the determination for which gate them dogs are starting off in is made by a group of people who sit in a room that you or me or anyone else doesn't have access to. They do not tell us what the rationale is. They simply put out their rankings. They send out their spokesperson. He goes on ESPN for 12 minutes on Tuesday nights. They ask him a couple of questions, usually not the tough questions. He gives a blanket statement. Well, we just feel like the strength of schedule matters over here, but over here it matters a little bit less. We feel like heads up wins matter over here, but they again, like I would ask the question, why is it that Bama is 2 spots ahead of South Carolina? Ole Miss is 2 spots behind South Carolina. Why? Does anyone, and I will ask this sincerely and genuinely of you. sincerely and genuinely, do any of you have a legitimate reason that Bama is 2 spots ahead of the Gamecocks and Ole Miss is 2 spots behind the playoffs? Do any of you have a genuine, valid reason for that? I'm sincerely want to know, because I don't. And if I don't have a good reason, there's only one of 2 reasons why I don't have a good reason. Reason number 1, I don't have a good reason is because I'm a big dumb idiot and I'm missing something. Okay? I acknowledge sometimes I just miss stuff. My wife and I, we start every day off, well, not every day, but we start our days off by playing the New York Times word game puzzles that they post every day. Wordle, connections, strands, and a mini crossword puzzle. And we compete every day. We set each other every day our scores and our times and how many hints we had to use. And then we talk trash to each other throughout the rest of the day because we have a good, consistent relationship. Okay? A couple of days ago, she beat me at one of the crossword puzzles. And she beat me because at one of the crossword puzzles, because in the middle of said crossword puzzle, once you get the answers plugged in, a little box pops up and it says, "Hey, congratulations. Good job. You nailed it, bud. We're so proud of you." If you fill in the whole thing and that box doesn't pop up, it means you got a letter wrong. And I sat there screaming at my phone like, I'm done. And the count. Stop the count. Because I can't lose to her. Stop the count. And it didn't. And I stared at this crossword puzzle and I'm like, what am I missing here? And it turned out very simply, I had a typo in the middle of the crossword puzzle. I was right, just had a typo and I just missed it. I can miss stuff. We can all miss stuff. Sometimes, however, there's another reason, which is that there are ulterior motives for this. Sometimes there's another reason. And that reason is that somebody hath rigged the game. Now, I'm not saying that is what happened here. Ooh, look what I got back. Yay. I'm not saying that somebody has rigged the game. Okay, I just need to make sure it worked. It did. What I am saying is that you have already got an Alabama team that was on the receiving end of a controversial decision to put them in last year. So, again, if you believe, as I do, that Alabama got an unfair tip of the cap from the playoff selection committee last year, why would you not believe the same thing is happening again this year? Why would you not believe that is still in play? Because it is. And South Carolina fans, do you remember last year when Florida State got bounced in favor of the Tide? And do you remember last year when they got bounced in favor of the Tide and I came in here and I said this is a travesty and it's embarrassing and it's a shame and it's only happening because the playoff selection committee, the TV network's in charge of it. They weren't going to have a Final 14 playoff without an SEC team in. And if Bama could be the team, they're going to be the team. And some of you guys went, Rob Brown, you're butthurt. You're holding a grudge. You're just upset, yada, 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 because that's a team that you've covered for a long time and blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, I'm upset because it could happen to you. It could happen to you. It could be you that get bumped out of a playoff spot in order to make room for Alabama. Gamecock fans, y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? Because here we are, homies. Here we are, literally the next year. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Alabama Crimson Tide of reading sports flashes. Lonzo.
Roll Tide. The Denver Broncos are still in a wild card position after a 41-32 win over the Cleveland Browns last night. Rookie quarterback Bo Nix completed 18 of 35 passes for 294 yards and a 93-yard touchdown. The Denver defense picked off Jameis Winston 3 times and took 2 back to the house. Denver improves to 8-5. San Francisco 49er running back Christian McCaffrey is headed back to the injured reserve list after suffering what the team called a PCL injury that will sideline him for roughly 6 weeks. In the same afternoon, McCaffrey's backup, Jordan Mason, was placed on the IR with a high ankle sprain. So they need running backs if you got, if you're any good at running the ball. Tune in tomorrow at 6:30 as the Furman Paladins take on the Florida Gulf Coast Eagles. It's Furman versus FGCU. Right here on your home for Furman Paladins basketball, The Fan, Upstate. Yeah. Do what Bill says.
Don't be frustrated by having to choose your health plan on your own. South Carolina Blue is here for you. Located on Woodruff Road right here in Greenville, Casey and his team of licensed health insurance experts can help you find a health plan for 2025 that fits you and your budget. Time is running out to secure your coverage for January 1st. Schedule your no-cost appointment today at scbluehereforyou.com. Don't spend another Christmas with the whole family in silence staring at their phones. Start a new tradition going to the Upstate Holiday Light Show, open now at the intersection of 123 and 153. 32 million dancing lights, carnival rides, pony corral, and a huge petting zoo with goats, donkeys, and kangaroos. The best Christmas light show in Greenville. An amazing winter wonderland like no other. It's time for a new Christmas tradition. Details and tickets at upstatelights.com.
Hi, this is Diesel. And this is Cole Bryson from Wire to Wire. We'll be live tomorrow at 15.
How's the temperature in this room?
Bonzo, how's the temperature in this room? It's actually good today.
From
Not bad.
From other people who use it.
This room?
Well
Step away for 30 seconds, guys. Stay right there.
done.
It's Rob Brown. I hope you're enjoying the show. If you're not, I don't know why you're here, but I am glad that you are. Hey, do us a favor. Whether you're enjoying it or not, would you mind sharing this around your social media, please? And thank you, Twitter, X, whatever you call it. I don't care. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it doesn't matter to me. Help us get the good word out. We're trying to get famous and rich, and we can't do it without your help. So, The Rob Brown Show is on all social media, or share the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, wherever you're watching this, and we'd appreciate it very much. Now, let's get back to the show. Stick around.
Hey, look, we're back.
We sure is.
Oh, you sound like you're drunk.
I know, dude. I gotta just switch to regular water.
There's too many. Does that have bubbles in it? Yeah. That's why I had to change, because of all the bubbles was affecting my stomach. QC in the next break.
10-4.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show.
And off we go, my friends, into hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo with you here on a beautiful, gorgeous, amazing, outstanding. I don't know if it's too damn early in the morning to know if it's all those things.
Plus, you don't know. It's dark out. It's good to be awake. It's good to be alive. Walking out into that crisp morning air will wake you up and make
This
you
is
go,
this is the real cold now, right? Like this, it's not going to do that thing it did a couple of weeks ago where it got real cold for like 2 days, and then I put on a quarter zip, and then it was like, oh no, wrong decision.
There's no right answer. It's South Carolina, so I don't know. I mean, you can pull up your weather app or whatever and look ahead and maybe plan that way. I don't know.
Don't answer me with something that makes sense, dude. Don't answer me with something that makes sense.
I'm a science guy. I would think that,
Listen, it's just.
I mean, it's not that accurate, but it's close. I'm talking about the weather app.
This is, what the concept of talking about weather serves one of two purposes. Purpose number one is it's just something to say to kill silence. Okay.
I'm just going to tell you, according to the weather app, it's 26 degrees outside right now.
I believe that.
It's going to be cold all of this week. Next week, when we're coming to work, it's going to be in the 40s and 50s.
I can live with that.
So the answer would be no to your question. It's not like straight up 20s, 30s until March.
I can live with that. I can 100% deal with the 40s and 50s.
That Mario got a bunch of things there.
Yeah, that's my bad. Forgot to put it on silent. That's a rookie mistake. Weather talk is meant to do one of two things. It is either meant to kill off an uncomfortable silence because you just don't have anything else to talk about, or number two, it's a way to complain to someone else.
There's a third thing that I think you're forgetting, that we are a morning show and people are getting ready to go to work, and maybe they don't want to look at the weather app and wonder, they hear our weather people, which do a good job, but maybe us just saying, hey, it was pretty cold this morning when I was coming in.
Well, I think I was talking about more like in your day-to-day life, right?
We
get off the air, we walk down the hallway, all the rock and roll and adult contemporary nerds are on the other side of the hallway, and you walk down there, and if I'm meeting up with the fellas, I'll be like, hey, did y'all hear Jameis last night after he threw 3 interceptions, 2 of them taken back for 6 the other way? Did y'all hear Jameis's hilarious response to a question about the pick sixes? That's what I'd say to the boys, because I know the boys all did, and that's something to talk about. But if I walk down the hallway to the non-sports nerds on the other side of the building, and I don't have anything to talk to them about, but as Lonzo can attest, I'm not a big fan of silences when multiple people are together. It's not in my wheelhouse. If I go down there and talk to them, you want to bring up something that people care about, right? And Mike Stathakis made a great point to me one time, because I asked him, we were sitting at his restaurant, and he said at one point that he was like, I wanted to call in today because you guys were having a conversation about whatever it was, probably like Duke's mayonnaise. Like, what does Duke's mayonnaise go on? And the answer is everything. We were having a conversation about it. And he said, I wanted to call in. I'm like, yo, bro, why is it I can't get you to call in and talk about sports? Why is it I can't get you to call in and talk about, soccer that you love so much, or baseball, or all these other things we talk about? And he's like, well, you do this for a living, and I don't want to come on and have an opinion and have you slap it down. and look like a clown. And I'm like, all right, it checks out. That makes sense. I said, but then why food? And he goes, think about it. Food is one of a very limited number of universal experiences. Everybody has to eat. It's not an option. There are 3 things primarily that everyone shares a mandatory involvement with: food, weather, and sleep. And I think that's it, right? We all have to sleep. We all have to eat. And no matter how hard we try, at some point, everybody has to go outside.
You include water in the food part?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, all right.
I think so.
Water's essential also.
I think so. I think everybody experiences those things. And so because everyone experiences those things, that's the easiest thing to lean on and bring up. I know if I say cold outside, isn't it? That Fat Boy, who is a sports guy, not the right guy to use in this example, but if
he's also well insulated, I'm not sure that he feels cold.
If I'm walking down the hallway and one of the folks from the classic rock station walks by, and I know they're not a big sports guy, well, I don't know what else is going on in their life. So I can't be like, hey, how's the wife and kids? Oh, she died last week. I don't know, right? Like, I don't know.
See, I'm not trying to kill your analogy, but the only person
try to kill every analogy. Knock it off with the apology.
The only person in this building who's not a sports person, who doesn't know anything about sports at all, would be Chris.
There are people who
you can go talk to Tara about sports for sure. All her kids are playing sports, and she will talk to you about sports. Lee Rogers will talk to you about racing.
I know Lee will.
Yeah,
Lee and I talk about racing in the bathroom once a week.
I'm just telling you.
All right.
I think your perception of people in the building is not a good one.
I think what's happening here is I was using an analogy to substitute in for every one of our listeners out there, and you're like, well, that wouldn't actually happen.
I just wanted you to be right. That's all.
I'm always right. You'll get used to that eventually. The point is, if I, a random employee of a random company, not Rob Brown of Odyssey and the Fan Upstate, were to walk down the hallway at my generic office doing my regular human job, and I was to go talk to a coworker who shall remain nameless and faceless and jobless in this example, and I was to talk to them, I wouldn't want to take a stab in the dark as to what's going on in their life or bring up an opinion that they might be opposed to, because I'm not in a spot. I
figured it out.
What?
If you went downstairs and you would, because none of them know anything about sports.
The specifics of the hypothetical are important right now.
Because none of them know anything about sports. So you could have said you went downstairs, and then your analogy would have been perfect.
The specifics of the hypothetical are important. The concept here is that the weather's easy to go to because everybody has to be outside. And if you're in a place, that person also got to that place, which means they were outside. That was it. That was literally the only point.
You're easily distracted today. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm going to stop.
Water cooler cheat sheet.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
"Oh man, I don't know what is that?"
Their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
I'm not letting you distract me again. The water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking about sports with the people that you know are sports fans. The people that aren't sports fans, talk to them about the weather or food. Item number 1. Little Monday Night Football, the Denver Broncos are shockingly 8-5, and I do have to say, I think an apology is owed.
Yes, one is owed for sure from you.
That is what I was going to say.
Good.
Yeah,
a major apology from you, who just said you're never wrong.
An apology is owed to one Bo Knicks, a man that I referred to as Captain Checkdown, because I did not think that he was going to be able to accomplish anything in the NFL. Instead, last night, he goes out 18 of 35, 294 yards, a touchdown. Was picked off twice in the game. Let's not act like Bo Nix had a perfect game, but he did go for 294 and a tutty, a 93-yarder that honestly probably the Denver offense should have been dead to rights on that drive, backed up against their goal line. Instead, a combination of a couple of runs, an emergency escape, and a 93-yard tutty down the field to Marvin Mims Jr. broke the thing open. Jameis Winston, 497 yards and 4 touchdowns, and was also picked off 3 times. 2 of them returned for touchdowns back the other way.
I thought you were going to apologize to the Denver coach.
No, I'm not.
Well, why not? Because you were wrong about the Denver coach.
Because Sean Payton isn't doing anything that is beyond the scope of any other NFL
he
coach.
got rid of an albatross, and now that albatross is gone.
Yeah, what's that albatross doing right now, by the way?
What is he doing without that albatross?
What's that albatross doing?
That albatross went to a team that was already winning, and they took the starting quarterback out and put him in, and now he looks like he's shining, although the starting quarterback was already doing that. Justin Fields was doing that. I think you need to apologize to Sean Payton, who was doing a heck of a coaching job there with a rookie quarterback, and they're winning in Denver, something they haven't done in a while. Yeah, you're the hater.
No.
In this situation.
No.
You are.
No.
Just think of it's because of Dennis Allen, isn't it? Because if Sean Payton had stayed, you wouldn't have had Dennis Allen. And because of that, that's why you cannot acknowledge that he has done a good job this year in Denver.
I'm not saying he didn't do a good job. I'm not saying he's not doing a good job. What I'm saying is we all need to stop venerating this man like he's up there with the GOATs. He's not. He's good. He's a good coach. He's a fine coach. Mike Tomlin's doing a better job than Sean Payton right now.
You know what Sean Payton has done that Tomlin hasn't? Well, no, actually Tomlin has won a couple. Never mind. It took me a while. I got back to where I was. But anyway, Sean Payton has won the Super Bowl. Tomlin has won a couple Super Bowls.
Mike Tomlin's doing a better job than Sean Payton right now. Point here is
he's got an easier job. Sean Payton's got a more difficult job, and the fact that he's taking a rookie quarterback and doing what he's doing and doesn't have to deal with the diva who went to Pittsburgh and to sit back and watch Justin Fields win a bunch of games, then come in and act like oh look, it's me, it's all me, and it's not. It's
Justin
the team.
Fields won 3 games and didn't have 200 yards in any of them.
Dude, you need to check.
And it was like 5.
Say,
not the point.
Check.
And even still, if you for a second look and think Justin Fields was outperforming Russell Wilson, you don't know ball. He's just not. He's just not.
You're right. Winning doesn't matter.
Russell Wilson's winning. First off, again, not a quarterback stat, but even if I let you use it as a quarterback stat, it's a dumb stat. Russell Wilson's winning.
Just use it as a stat. The thing is, he's winning on a team that was already winning.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh, so then you don't give Justin Fields credit for winning then?
I do give him credit.
Then
for
Russell
winning.
Wilson gets credit for winning.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
You're in it.
He's like, I don't know why you're getting angry. Why are you being distracted, man? Aren't we time for number 2?
Jameis Winston, 497 yards, 4 touchdowns, but was also picked off 3 times. 2 of them for pick sixes, which was the difference in this football game. Item number 2. Got a couple of bits of news out of the National Football League. Christian McCaffrey is likely done for the year, and there's a solid chunk of us that think the career of Christian McCaffrey is likely coming to an end as well. Announced yesterday that in that game out in the cold, would this have happened if they weren't playing in 17-degree snowy weather? I don't know, but I can't say no. Christian McCaffrey has a PCL injury that has sent him back to the injured reserve. It is expected that McCaffrey will be out for 6 weeks. The problem is the San Francisco 49ers likely aren't going to the playoffs this year. It is unfortunate. They are without a doubt the most injury-prone team in the league, and they also find themselves in dead last place of the NFC West. In fact, right now, only the Giants Bears, Saints, and Panthers have a worse record in the NFC than the San Francisco 49ers. Here's the worst part. Not only is Run CMC on his way to the IR, but his backup, Jordan Mason, suffered a high ankle sprain in the exact same game.
All right. I looked it up because I was curious. I asked if there are more knee injuries in cold weather than there are in warm weather. And according to AI Overview, no, the risk of knee injuries in the NFL is lower in cold weather.
Cool. Ask it about soft tissue injuries.
Well, it's mentioning PCLs and that kind of stuff. So anyway, cold weather is better for knees.
Okay, no, it's not. It's not better for anything, including football.
I mean, AI is accurate, of course, and that's what it just said.
Jordan Mason also to the IR, which means that the San Francisco 49ers will be turning to rookie Isaac Guerendo and their backup practice squad running back to carry this team moving forward. In other injury news, Carolina Panthers are expected, according to Dave Canales, to get back a pair of offensive players this week. Rookie tight end Jatavion Sanders, who is fourth on the team in yards and receptions, will make his return this week. Remember, he suffered that nasty neck injury a while back. He is expected to return after missing last week. Jalen Coker, the young wide receiver that Rashad Beard and I both told you before the season, keep an eye on this young man because he's a baller, G. Jalen Coker is expected to return from a quadriceps injury this weekend, which just goes one step further in pointing out that, speaking of apologies owed, Bryce Young is owed a bunch of them, because not only did he go out there and do what he did this weekend and put his team in a position to win not once, not twice, but thrice and have the team fall out from underneath him, he did it without two of his most important targets in the football game. And finally, item number 3. Shocking, I know, but the University of Alabama is now the odds-on favorite of the bubble teams to make it into the college football playoff. The Tide yesterday opened the day with odds of plus 105 to make it into the college football playoff. But somebody somewhere let the cat out of the bag yesterday, because by the end of the day, Alabama's odds fell from plus 105 to minus 200. They went from plus 105, making them a nearly 1-to-1 bet to make the college football playoff, to minus 200, meaning that you have to bet 200 to make 100 back. Alabama's going to the playoff this year. I'm at this point, I'm convinced. So at this point, if you're South Carolina, recognizing that, I think at this point, we just got to put together the list of teams that the Gamecocks are rooting for this conference championship weekend, because they need another spot to open up. Alabama has claimed one at this point. So is there another one available to the Gamecocks of South Carolina? We will talk about that. By the way, before we take a break, I do want to tell you, head coach of the Gamecocks, Shane Beamer, will be joining us late next week. Couldn't do it this week because it is obviously signing day coming up tomorrow. We got to get into that a little bit. But I did talk to Steve Fink over at South Carolina yesterday, and Shane Beamer will talk to us late next week to recap the season and potentially talk a little playoff football. We'll find out. I will let you know when we officially get that interview on the books here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, quick live, and we're back. Stay right there for me. Thank you. Now I gotta go.
I believe in you. You got this.
I got see it. My little software over here. It got rid of all my clips, and now I got to reload all my clips. And now I got to make. Oh, this is not okay. Well, we're just gonna have to say it, Lonzo. We're just gonna have to say it. That mother is not real.
Okay, you'll have to say that because I'm not going to say that.
I can beep it for you.
Yeah, well, I'm still not going to say that.
I got the power.
I'm actually over here, doing that thing where I'm talking, so you have time to find the clip.
I can find it.
That you're looking for.
It's buried in a folder of 1,000 clips.
If you hit search.
No, I don't know what I called it. I don't remember what it's called.
Really?
Yeah.
You just didn't call it what you. I thought
I did, but it's not there in alphabetical order, so I don't know.
Just look up not real.
I looked up 3 different things. It didn't show up.
Okay.
It didn't show up, so I don't know what to say. What I do know is that we have some performances that stood out, some performances that we need to talk about from the college and professional ranks this weekend. So let us dive right into them. Looking around the landscape of collegiate football to hand out some T.M.F.I.N.R awards. We will do the same with the NFL coming up here in just a minute from right now. Let's go. Let's start it off and get this one out of the way so that Lonzo can feel better. Michigan 13, Ohio State 10. I didn't really know if anybody was going to be worth it. This was a pair of offenses that were, shall we say, lackadaisical? Is that a fair word? I think it probably is. Well, one of those names was Khalil Mullings, 32 carries, 116 yards, and a touchdown.
You're not gonna play the fight clip, are you? From him?
No, I wanted to though.
Okay,
I wanted to. It may make an appearance either later today in the audio blitz or maybe tomorrow. The fun part about being off for 4 days is that I have so much sound that I want to play. And we just got to kind of get to it as it comes up this week. What I am going to say is Khalil Mullings absolutely did fight. 32 carries, 116 yards, average under 4 yards a carry, but 32 totes in a game when you are running into the heart of the Ohio State defense is impressive. Khalil Mullings, that is not real. Texas, 17-7 winners over the Aggies of Texas A&M. And no, it is not the sheriff of Fansville. Sorry, the deputy sheriff of Fansville that gets the T.M.F.I.N.R award. No, it is Quintravion Wisner. 33 carries, 186 yards on the day, toting the rock to an average of nearly 6 yards per carry. Quintravion Wisner is not real. It's not as much fun, man.
Maybe if you used a high-pitched voice.
That mother is not real.
So much better.
Nah, I hate it. Syracuse downs the Miami Hurricanes 42-38, removing the Canes from the ACC championship game and probably removing the Canes from the national championship playoffs. Well, my. In a weekend where the Ohio State Buckeyes lost, their former quarterback, Kyle McCord, had himself a day. 26 of 36, 380 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Kyle McCord, that mother is not real. Tennessee, 36-23 winners over the Vanderbilt Commodores. I went a bunch of different directions, but who the hell else but Nico Amialava? I feel like I'm all over it. I swear to you, I can say it in my head. Nico Amialava. I think that's it. I feel like I can say it in my head, but then when it's time for it to come out of my stupid mouth, my brain just misfires.
You have a history of pronouncing names correctly, so
I know this is the one that screwed me up.
I'm sure that's it.
I had DJ Uyunglele down before anybody else did, but for some reason, Nico Amialava just escapes me. 18 of 26, 257 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Let's just say Nico. That mother is not real. Indiana wins 66-0 over Purdue. It was the easiest cover bet in the history of college football. There was 0% chance that Indiana, needing style points after their loss to Ohio State, knowing that some teams are about to win some conference hardware, they were going to have to do something special. Where Curtis Rourke, a man that a lot of folks said he's kind of soft. You might want to sit him against Ohio State so he doesn't get hurt, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire adult life. All Curtis Rourke did, 23 of 31, 349, 6 touchdown passes. And we're going to double it up because Elijah Surratt, 8 grabs, 165 yards, and 2 touchdown passes. Surratt, Rourke, those mother are not real. Memphis knocks off Tulane 34-24. Yep, you heard me correct. A top 25 Tulane Green Wave team, 8-L to drop their season to 9-3. And they did it because Mario Anderson Jr. ran 24 times for 177 yards and a touchdown, an average of 7.4 yards per carry.
That's pretty good.
That's really good. Mario Anderson Jr., that mother is not real. Colorado knocks off the OK State Cowboys 52-0. So who the hell do I give this to? Do I give it to Shedeur Sanders, 34 of 41, 438 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick? Do I give it to LeJohntay Wester, 11 grabs for 175 yards? Do I give it to Travis Hunter, 10 grabs, 116 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception mixed in as well?
Come on. You got to give it to the eventual Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter.
He is the eventual Heisman Trophy winner. I cannot push back on that. For the record, I never did. I never did push back on Hunter himself. It was other guys that I didn't seem to believe in as much as many of you. But Travis Hunter, and you know what? We're going to say Hunter, Sanders, Wester, they're all catching them because those, sorry, I did it wrong. Those mother are not real. Georgia and Georgia Tech went to the wire. You got to do something special to catch a T.M.F.I.N.R award from the losing team. But Haynes King is that guy. 26 of 36, 303 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. He also ran the ball 24 times for 110 yards and 3 tutties on the ground. Haynes King, that mother is not real. And then we wrap it up with a guy that you knew was going to be on here. It was just a matter of when he was going to show up. 13 of 21, 164 yards, no touchdown and a pick. That's not a great stat line for a quarterback, but it looks a heck of a lot better when Lenora Sellers adds 16 carries for 166 yards and 2 touchdowns, an average of 10.4 yards per carry for a quarterback, y'all. Lenora Sellers, that mother is not real. There's your college football T.M.F.I.N.R awards for the weekend. We'll do our NFL ones later on in the show. Got a little bit behind because my pooter broke. So I'll try to get my pooter fixed over the next couple of segments. We'll do the NFL ones later, coming up here in just a minute. What does South Carolina need to happen this weekend? There's nothing they can do. They've done all they can do. So what do they need to happen this weekend for the South Carolina Gamecocks to make it to the college football playoffs? I'll give you a couple of paths that might be in play when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Guys, let me step away for 30 seconds. Be right back. last year when I saw them for the first time. That might be the most rock and roll show I've ever seen. Like, it is classic rock and roll, dude. Lasers, lights, smoke, and a couple of dudes on the old guitar that absolutely bleep and shred.
Some of them older guys too, and I just want to give you guys who are listening now just a heads up that it'll be about 8:15, 8:20 possibly when we give those away. I'm just saying, possibly, maybe. So
possibly,
if you tuned in around then, you probably got a better shot of winning the tickets. Just saying.
I would say be here if you want them. That would be my advice for sure. All right, so what is it going to take? What is it going to take for South Carolina to get into the playoffs? There's nothing more that you can do to improve the resume at this point. You're done, right? Regular season's cooked. Now, there's good news.
Does Clemson need to win? Because it makes the victory of South Carolina over Clemson. I don't know if some of you knew that or not, but South Carolina beat Clemson. Does them winning the ACC make that victory look better?
The question mark is not, I think, who wins. I think it's how they win. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm back and forth, because if Clemson wins over SMU, what South Carolina fans are rooting for, if the playoff matters more than consistency in your hate, if Clemson's going to win, you need them to beat the absolute dog snot out of SMU. You just do.
I don't think they're going to, but still, I mean, I'm just curious if that would help South Carolina.
The reality is it doesn't really matter who wins, with the exception of SMU losing this game very close. I think that is the outcome South Carolina fans want to avoid the most. If SMU loses this game on like a Clemson walk-off field goal or something, right? Or comes down to the stretch and SMU drives down and they lose by missing a field goal, whatever. If it comes down to the last spot and SMU loses close, that is an extra game that they will have played over a top 18 team. Keep in mind that the games that South Carolina has won that you guys are leaning on, oh, look, we got these ranked wins. And you do. And they're great, and you should be proud of them. They are also over teams that were ranked number 20. What was it? What was Vanderbilt? 23. Mizzou was 21, right? So for whatever that's worth, those ranked wins are kind of right there in line with SMU's, in this case, loss to a top 18 team. Could SMU drop from 8 down to like 11? And again, this is one of those spots where I've said before, we don't know what's going to happen because we've never done this before, at least not with this model. We have done it before with the 4-team playoff. And obviously losing a game like this in the 4-team playoff, SMU, if they were in the top 4, would have been out of the top 4 with this L. But how much in a 12-team playoff, how much will teams be penalized for losing a conference championship game that they earned a berth in versus teams that do not play in their conference championship game and therefore can't lose a conference championship game? South Carolina might be the first team to find out. If SMU loses a close game to Clemson, I think there is the possibility that the committee might look and go, yep, South Carolina's playing the best football. They are one of the hottest teams in America. They have as many ranked teams, as many ranked wins as anybody else in the country, and they have stacked them up at the end of the year, and they have the best losses of anybody in the country. Both of the teams they lost to at the end of the year are still inside the top 15. You add in LSU as a loss. And again, I wonder how much not having Lenoris Sellers will impact the way that that committee views that loss at all. If there is any impact at all, we'll see. They have 3 losses. One of those teams just dropped out of the AP top 25 for the very first time. The other 2 were inside the top 15. So if SMU loses this game, their second loss is on par with South Carolina's losses. 3-loss team inside the top 15. Or top 18, pardon me. That matters. If SMU gets blown out, or if Clemson loses game number 4, because I do not think, even though I have said, I do not think a team should be punished for not playing in their conference or for losing a conference championship game. I am also fine with the thought that a team should not be punished for not playing in it, right? If you play in it and you lose, I do not think you should be jumped by a team who didn't play in it. But what I think should and should not happen is not on the table right now. What we are discussing right now is what will happen when the committee meets next Monday after conference championship weekend takes place. So I think you want any result other than SMU in losing a close game. I think you can absolutely wholeheartedly root against Clemson. But I'm going to say this. If we get into the fourth quarter and Clemson is sitting on like a 7-point lead with 4 or 5 minutes left to play, you should root for them to go ahead and blow SMU's doors off down the stretch. Because if SMU is going to lose, it is going to take them getting mollywopped for the committee to go ahead and drop a 2-loss Power 4 team that played in their conference championship game behind a 3-loss Power 4 team that did not, even if that 3-loss Power 4 team that did not is from the SEC. I think you are probably sitting on the verge there. We have got our playoff spots where today, Oregon is the 1 seed out of the Big 12. Texas is the 2 seed out of the SEC. SMU is the 3 seed out of the ACC. And Boise State is the 4 seed out of the Mountain West Conference. That would create a spot in which the winner of the Big 12 championship game kind of throws everything into a loop as well. You've got Iowa State. You've got Arizona State. Arizona State is currently a spot ahead of South Carolina. Iowa State is sitting down at number 16. This is going to be another spot where we ask the question, does the reward of playing in your conference championship game, how many spots is that worth, right? How many spots is that worth? Iowa State, Arizona State playing the Big 12 championship game. That game will take place on Saturday at noon. How does that shape up? My thought is, if you are South Carolina, you are hoping that Iowa State wins in a close game. Not enough to jettison them up past you, but enough that Arizona State falls out. Here's what I'm going to say. I don't think I don't think South Carolina's getting there. I want to. I would love for you to be there. If for no other reason, not because of fandom. For the record, I'm pulling for Clemson to win the ACC title game and get themselves in as well and replace SMU in that spot. Not because I'm a fan of either team, but because if those two teams are in the playoffs, Lonzo and I got a hell of a lot to talk about for the next 3 weeks of the year. And, maybe we get out on some remotes, come out there amongst you, the people, and get to make a little extra money.
I want both teams to be in just so they could play each other and South Carolina could win again.
Could you imagine if you ended up with a Carolina Clemson playoff game? That'd be electric, dude. Electric. So the problem is, despite the fact that I want them in, I don't think there is a path for the Gamecocks. I think you have too many things that have to break your way in order to get there. And you already at this point are aware. You already are aware at this point that Alabama's getting the nod over you, right? Like you guys have accepted that. There's no coming back from that. And the fact is, and again, you know, I talk about the Vegas odds all the time. Part of the reason I talk about the Vegas odds all the time are because the Vegas people are connected. If somebody says something in Las Vegas, it gets to the people who set these numbers. Yesterday morning when we were doing the show, the Alabama Crimson Tide were plus 105 to make the playoff. Bet 100, get 105 back. This morning, I checked the odds. They're minus 200. That is the complete opposite way. That means you got to bet 200 to win 100. That means they're, I'm not going to say lock, but a lock. Alabama's getting a spot. So whoever drops out, Arizona State, Boise State if they lose the Mountain West, potentially SMU if they lose the ACC. The teams that I think are guaranteed in right now. I think Oregon is guaranteed in even if they lose the Big Ten championship game. I think Texas is guaranteed in even if they lose the SEC championship game. I think Penn State is in even if they lose the Big Ten championship game. I think Notre Dame is in. They're not playing in a championship game, obviously, as they are not in a conference. But at 11-1 and number 4, they're not falling that far. I think Georgia is in. I think Tennessee is in. I think Ohio State is in. That gives me my, just what we have so far, my Big Ten champ between Oregon and Texas. It gives me my SEC champ between Texas and Georgia. It gives me Notre Dame, and it gives me all the rest of those teams. That's 7 teams in so far. We still have the ACC champion to get in. That is probably, well, not probably. It's either SMU or it's Clemson. I do not think at this point, I do not think the ACC runner-up is going. I think the ACC has fallen from 2 weeks ago having 5 teams down to 2, down to 1.
Even if it's SMU.
No, I don't think they're going.
If it's Clemson, I get it with all the losses.
If it's Clemson, definitely not. If it's SMU, I still don't think they're going because I think they're going to run into the issue with the branding. I mean, listen, they're behind Ohio State with 2 losses, Tennessee with 2 losses, Georgia with 2 losses already. And of the teams they're ahead of, they're only ahead of Indiana at 11-1 by like 70 points. They're ahead of Boise State by less than 100 points. Like, even if there's only a minor deduction for losing your conference championship game, and again, this is the AP poll, do what it's worth, I think they could drop down to 12th. Would SMU be ahead of South Carolina? Probably. So I don't even know if that's enough. I think that, and I honestly, that ends up in a spot where between the rest of the runners-up and the rest of the at-large, I think South Carolina is going to end up being the first team out. I think you're the first team out. I think Clemson goes, we know Clemson goes only if they win. I think SMU might stay ahead of Clemson or South Carolina with just the 2 losses, but I'm not sure yet because, again, we haven't seen this yet. Texter said, I would rather off my first child than allow Clemson to win the ACC. That's dramatic. I like it. Texter said the playoff committee.
Why you hate your kid so much?
Doesn't hate their kid, hates Clemson that much.
No, I know.
Their
but
hatred
still.
for Clemson is just greater than their love for their child. And let's be honest, I understand it.
I don't.
I get it. All right. Your hatred for Clemson deeper than your love for your kid.
I don't hate anyone or anything more
Lonzo,
than I love
it is
my
a
kids.
joke.
It's not.
It's a joke.
It's not.
Texas said the playoff committee has shown strength of schedule doesn't matter. Just beat crappy teams and only lose to Northern Illinois and you're in. Hey, one loss. They do have some decent wins. Texas said A&M was 10 and USC has 4 wins over top 25 teams. How many does SMU? Again, 1 loss through a Power 5. They are still going to give you Power 4, Power 2. They're still going to give you credit for it. We'll keep talking about this.
All that is moot. And that chance to say that because SMU is going to beat Clemson and they're going to be in because they will have won the ACC.
They beat Clemson. It is absolutely smoot. They lose to Clemson. South Carolina finds themselves in trouble. We'll talk more about this as the show rolls on. Rob Brown, Lonzo, the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Wow, no intro. That's fine.
I got to pee.
The Denver Broncos are still in wild card position. I think he had to tinkle after a 41-32 win over the Cleveland Browns last night. Rookie quarterback Bo Nix completed 18 of 35 passes for 294 yards and a 93-yard touchdown. Denver defense picked off Jameis Winston 3 times. It took 2 back to the house. Denver improves to 8-5. Carolina Panthers lost a heartbreaker to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Sunday, but are expected to get some much-needed help this weekend when they travel to Philadelphia. Head coach Dave Canales said yesterday that rookie tight end Jatavian Sanders and rookie wide receiver Jalen Coker are both expected to be available. Tune in tomorrow at 6:30 as Furman Paladins take on the Florida Gulf Coast Eagles. It's Furman versus FGCU right here on your home for Furman Paladins basketball. The Fan. Upstate. I am today, Stephen. Hopefully you didn't jinx me on the last one, though. We'll see. We'll see in an hour. All right, Peter, let's go.
Revitalizing your joints so you can get out there and move again. So if you're living with chronic pain from arthritis, maybe an injury, you need to know that steroids and surgery and pain pills are not your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative, cellular treatment for your aching joints. This is the future of medicine. Call for a free consultation. They're at 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772 in Greenville and in Asheville. 864-448-3772. QC Connect.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, it's bigger game days and bolder flavors. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to dinner? Only at Twin Peaks, the number 1 sports bar.
When we're going to the Upstate Holiday Light Show, imagine 32 million lights, carnival rides, a present, a 600-foot light tunnel, a gigantic Christmas tree. Oh my gosh, I've got to tell Bob about this. The people have a blast. We go every year and it's open 7 days a week.
The Upstate Holiday Light Show, open now at District Park at the intersection of 123 and 153. Visit upstatelights.com.
Another year is coming to a close, and you're still struggling to open and close your old windows, right? Joey Hudson here for locally owned American-made windows. Now is the time to get rid of those stubborn, outdated windows and update your home with American-made, beautiful, energy-efficient windows. John & Pound's team does expert work quickly, cleanly, and affordably. Visit amwupstate.com or call 864-499-8853. That's 864-499-8853.
Good morning, James.
And remember, the best windows are American-made.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah.
Time deals on select PCs like the XPS 16 that accelerate AI with Intel Core Ultra processors. Cyber Monday is their biggest sale of the year and the best time to upgrade, but it's only here for a limited time. Shop now at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/.
Did they have Saturday morning cartoons when you were a kid?
Yeah.
What was your cereal of choice?
I was a Trix guy.
Because you got to eat cereal while you're watching
Yeah,
Saturday
I was a
morning
Trix
cartoons.
guy. I was big into Lucky Charms. I really enjoyed Lucky Charms. I was real mad as an adult when they came out with Lucky Charms with double marshmallows. I'm like, why didn't you just make this when I was a kid?
I don't know if you had the same kind of energy as a kid. Double marshmallows would have been a bad idea because you'd have been bouncing through walls.
I hated Raisin Bran because that's all my dad ate, and now it's all I eat now.
I'll say I kind of loved Raisin Bran.
I love Raisin Bran now.
My cousins were really big into Frosted Mini Wheats. I didn't understand it. I like them now, but I'm very tempted to try the Kelsey combinations of cereal. That could be a taste test on the Pulse. I didn't even think about that.
And here we go into hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show. All right, here on the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great man Lonzo with you for 4 hours every single weekday morning from 6 until 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Want you to head to the Odyssey app for me, would you? Go grab the Odyssey app. AUDACY MOU. Go grab the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Put it on your digital devices, your cell phone, your laptop, your tablet, your PC, wherever you spend the majority of your time. And what I'd like you to do is to go open the Odyssey app. I'd like you to search the Fan Upstate. I'd like you to go to the Fan Upstate page. I'd like you to click the little heart button so that the Fan Upstate is always available to you right when you open the app from that point forward. And then once you do that, the next thing that I would like for you to do is to look in the middle of the page, and you're going to see a couple of things. Number one, you're going to see a big orange button that says Listen Live. Click on that button and, listen live. Anywhere that you have service and a speaker, you can listen to the show. You can use the audio rewind feature available only on the Odyssey app, and they actively rewind the show so you don't miss anything. And every edition of the show is posted on the Odyssey app. So if you miss the show when it's live, you can go back and listen at any point that you wish. The second thing I'd like you to do is right next to that Listen Live button, there is another button that says Send a Voice Message. I'd like you to click on that button, and I'd like you to drop a 30 to 60 second voice memo that comes directly to the laptop anytime, day or night, rain or shine. I don't care what time it is. I don't care what day it is. I don't care if it's the middle of the night and you're through 2 gallons of Jack Daniels. I don't care if it's the middle of the day and you're sitting in your truck in the parking lot, not wanting to go back inside because you might get into a fist fight with the boss if he tells you to do one more thing.
Wouldn't you die if you drank 2 gallons of Jack Daniels?
I mean, yeah, but again.
Okay, I'm just, again, not a drinker, but there might be some people out there with that kind of.
Don't drink 2 gallons of Jack Daniels, all right? If you've had a couple of Jack and Cokes, all right? Whatever. But the point is, whatever mental state you find yourself in, the voice message, the Ray Memorial Hotline feature is always there for you. All you got to do is use it. Go to the Odyssey app. We had 2 of them when I checked in yesterday, and I play these now because I should have played them yesterday, but I didn't because I was caught up in catching up on everything that had happened in the 5 days since we had all been together. Ty from Gaffney. I got to give Ty some credit here because while this is a voice message on the Ray Memorial Hotline that Ty sent before the game, he nailed it.
Hey, Rob, it's Ty here. I have to listen on the Odyssey app because I drive a lot. I'm in and out of my car all day, so I listen to the show on the Odyssey app. But anyway, I got a hot take for you. My take is that if Clemson rushes for less than 150 yards, they lose the ball game. I don't believe that Clemson can contain Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard long enough for Cade Klubnik to get the ball downfield. I feel like it's just too much for them to handle. They haven't seen a pass rush like that maybe since the Georgia game. We all saw how that turned out. So my hot take's that if they don't rush for 150 yards, Clemson loses the ball game. And I think the Gamecocks win 28-22. That's my prediction. You guys have a happy Thanksgiving.
28-22 was the score, but it wasn't the score.
Wow, still the score was close.
Score's not too far off. 17-14 ends up being your score. He added a 6-point game. It ended up being a 3-point game, but it was more the prognostication that Ty, who very clearly does know ball, brother. Ty said if the Tigers don't rush for 150 yards, they will lose this game. They rushed for 139. Ty was all over it. And Ty checked in again yesterday.
Bob, I'm sorry to say, now that I figured out how to use this Ray Memorial Hotline, it's probably going to be my way of communicating with you guys. I have to listen to the Odyssey app because I'm in and out of my car a lot for work, so I can't always listen live. But just wanted to say that I can't wait to get your take on the Gamecocks' performance this weekend. Regardless of what anybody says, Lenore Sellers is him. Dude single-handedly took down the Tigers on Saturday. Looking forward to what you have to say about that. And I'm keeping Lonzo in my thoughts and prayers because and we should probably start a GoFundMe page because we all know he needs a new TV after this weekend.
Good take, Ty. Appreciate you checking on the Ray Memorial Hotline.
Except for the TV part. I'm still angry as a human being, but not nearly as angry as I used to be. I just let it simmer more now. But I would never, even in my youth, in the angriest that I ever was, break a TV because of growing up poor and still, paycheck to paycheck. TVs cost a lot of money, even though they're cheaper now. Those people who break their TVs are stupid.
I almost
go out and kick a tree or something. I don't know.
I almost talked the lady into buying a new TV for Cyber Monday.
Was it 75?
85.
Okay, because we were talking. I was like, it would fit really well on that wall right there. 75 inches.
And
she was already looking at some of the deals, and it's like, yeah.
So why didn't you get it?
Still not out of the realm of possibility.
Well, yeah, I mean, you done missed Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
There's still some deals out there.
Okay,
if you're willing to look for them.
I thought I had the lady all but talked into going with the 85 for the living room.
Have you measured the wall to make sure?
Oh, it fits. Yeah, we got a big far living room wall across from the couch is big. And right now we have we've only got a 45-inch up right now. And we've got music posters, so we'd have to move them. But fine, 85-inch TV. I told her, I was like, I will pay to have it mounted and installed on a swivel so we can watch it from the kitchen. We can whatever. And she was like, all right, I think we can go for that. Let me think about it. And then she came back with a great point. She's like, dude, you already have a 75-inch TV in the bro cave, and we watch all our movies and everything in there. Why don't we just get a smaller one and save the rest of that money? Because we're going the plan right now, and this could change. What I do ever talked into is going down to Orlando for my 40th birthday at the end of February because I want to do Star Wars Land. And I think I've got to talk to her into going down to Orlando to go to Star Wars for my 40th. She's like, well, shouldn't we just save those extra few $100 and you can get your personalized Jedi lightsaber? And I was like,
done.
That's a real good argument. That's a real good argument.
I've been trying to talk to someone too. It's like, yeah, I know we always wanted to go down there with the kids, but the kids are grown up. Let's just me and you go.
Correct.
It'd be cheaper.
Correct. Absolutely do that. Absolutely do that.
Until we get there and spend the kind of money that you're going to spend. Because I definitely would have to do the lightsaber thing too.
Yeah, and it's like $250, but like it's your lightsaber, right? Like it's only yours. You're the only
Harry
one
Potter
that has
World's
that.
the same place, right?
No, that is at Universal Islands of Adventure.
Okay, all right.
But I will say it is worth it to do them both. I'm not a huge Harry Potter guy. Like I'm all right with it. Like it's whatever to me. She's not a Harry Potter person at all, so we probably won't do that, and that's okay. I've been there, I've done that. If you're a Harry Potter fan, it's absolutely worth the trip. But if you're a Star Wars guy, you could spend multiple days at that park. From what I understand, I haven't been yet. So she said, why don't we hold off on buying an IMAX theater screen size television, and why don't you use that to get your lightsaber? And I was like, all right, fine. Like if it was anything else, I'd be like, I use the TV more than anything in the house.
I told Cameron I let you hold his lightsaber. He was not very happy.
Tell him I was good with it though.
Yeah, until you hit the ceiling with it.
I did not. You're a liar.
Uh-huh.
You're lying.
Oh, there's
You're
video
lying.
proof of that.
Pappy, that did not happen. Your father's a liar.
Yeah, you can see he immediately.
Your father's gone to the dark side.
He immediately brought it back and handed it to me.
Nope. Your father's gone to the dark side. He's a liar.
It's built for those kind of things. He didn't break it, so it's fine.
Texter said, oh, now I got to find that text. Texter. All right. Texter said, good morning. Where are the aliens? Isn't today the day? I wanted to stay home from work and listen to my favorite sports radio host, but no. Where's the rest of that text? What the hell are we talking about here?
You guys are killing me, taking away my what the X stuff. Today we're supposed to be invaded by aliens. It's trending. Yeah, there you go. And I talked about this a little bit on Saturday. Science people bug me because you would think a science guy like yourself would want to see proof of aliens. Instead, you poo-poo it, you get emotional, you do whatever that thing is you're doing right now, like your head hurts. And instead, you should be like, show me the proof. I'll be so excited when we have aliens. But instead, you're just like, you look like that there's no chance at all that there are aliens out there.
No.
That's how you come across. Everyone's seeing it.
No. Once again, you're just wrong about that. I would be, I don't want to say ecstatic to find out that alien life is real, because there is always the chance that we get Independence Day. All right. And there's no Jeff Goldblum around to save us. It is not necessarily.
Will Smith was there too, but he just flew the thing.
He just flew the thing.
Okay. All right. You're right. Anyway,
there's 100 fighter pilots.
You're right.
There's a chance there's no Jeff Goldblum to save us if we get Independence Day, or if they show up in there like the monsters from Quiet Place, I'm screwed. All right. So the concept of like, wouldn't it be cool? Not if they come down here and start wiping us out Mars Attack style.
It could be E.T.
Could be.
Yeah. I mean, they could also be Predator, or they could be xenomorphs from Alien.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The point here is.
So this is more out of fear. You're more scared that aliens are what we think they might be.
I think it is important to recognize that finding out there is extraterrestrial life and putting ourselves on the interstellar grid might not be a great thing. If there is a warmongering crew out there that has nothing more than show up, suck the resources of the planet dry, and leave, we might be screwed if that happens. But there's the other aspect. The people that I push back against are not people who are doing the investigating. I don't ever push back against people who are investigating a claim. The people I push back against are people who go in front of Congress and they say, oh, we have bodies. And then you go find out who they are and you realize, oh, this is somebody who just writes a bunch of books about finding aliens, but has never provided even a picture. Not one time. And you have congressmen on Capitol Hill who listen to these butt clowns and they go, oh, now the government's hiding the aliens.
You stay classy.
From us. This is a real thing that's real. No. Show me proof or stop talking about it. It's getting old.
All right. So hashtag alien invasion is going on right now. And it's only 8 o'clock in the morning, people. So if we're going to be invaded, we got all day. So the prediction was it's going to happen today. There's some strange drones hovering in New Jersey. There's all kinds of stuff going. The alien sightings, the AEPs or whatever you want to call them, they're up quite a bit. So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen today.
You know, for Christmas.
And before we're vaporized, I want to look over and say, see, Rob, they are real. And then we can be vaporized.
Listen.
Just like that look on your face. You'll find a way to go, no, they're not. And
have been for thousands of years, there have been people that have been standing on the side of the road wearing sandwich boards saying the end is nigh.
Have you ever actually seen someone with a sandwich board?
Yeah, there's a dude who walks up and down the side of Woodruff Road. Wade Hampton Road with one like once or twice a week.
But I mean, I've just never seen one in person. I've seen them on TV and movies, but never in person.
For years, people have been screaming, the end is near, the lizard people are here, the aliens are here, the judgment of the planet is upon us, and yet here we are with the world still spinning. So why don't we, until that thing happens, why don't we actually spend our time and our energy and our resources assisting each other instead of on that crap? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I need to stop wasting time on Congressional Hill with sensationalist sci-fi authors who have made claim after claim after claim after claim, but in an era where I can't fart in public without somebody tweeting about it immediately, we got nothing. Stop.
When was the last time that happened? I need to look that up.
Don't worry about it.
When it happens in here, I don't publish it, but I can if you want, just so we can have
it happening here. I wouldn't do that in public.
I don't know. Last week there was a time I was like, what is that? Anyway, I just want to say, if Christmas does happen this year and we don't get invaded by aliens today, we've got a pair of tickets to give away.
Is there a time scale that I can put on if there's no alien invasion by blank that everybody shut the hell up? Can I do that? Can we pick a date? It always seems that people are constantly throwing out dates for the end of the world that are never right. Oh, we're going to give the tickets away right now, but I'm getting this out first.
I believe the time scale would be before you die.
No, because that means I got to put up with this bull crap every day until the day I die. I'd like to stop, please.
So
I'd like to stop.
That's life.
It's obnoxious that so many people get to do it's been politicians, it's been religious leaders, it's been alien figures that they go out and they go, based on my calculations, January 17th, 2029 is going to be the day the world ends. And then there we go on January 30th. And these people are allowed to just ride off into the sunset with all the money they made selling their snake oil to you. Stop. Be better. And also, let's go see Trans-Siberian Orchestra. How about that? We got a pair of tickets. TSO is coming to Greenville, South Carolina. They put on, as I said before, an absolutely knockout show. TSO, and they will be on their way here Friday, December 13th. We have a pair of tickets to go see Trans-Siberian Orchestra on Friday, December 13th that we are going to give away right now.
Really quick, it's for the 4 o'clock showing, so keep that in mind. It's Friday at 4.
Friday, December 13th at 4 p.m. to go see what is one of the most rock and roll shows I have ever seen. And put yourself
he's
in the Christmas spirit.
He's missing one part of it. The light show is amazing.
That's part of the rock and roll.
The music is great, but the light show is beyond. Listen, I mean, you go there expecting great music and you will hear it, but the light show is not, you don't expect that till you get there.
When I say rock and roll, I'm not just talking about dudes slamming guitars and beating up on drum kits. When I say rock and roll, I am talking about rock and roll. I am talking about lasers and fog and every other thing that makes a show rock and freaking roll. So if you want to go see TSO Friday, December 13th at 4 p.m., caller number.
Woo.
Oh, got it. Caller number 4 right now. Caller number 4, 844-326-3663. Caller number 4, winning 4 tickets to go see Trans-Siberian Orchestra at 4 p.m. on Friday, December 13th. We'll tell you who the winner is when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, we got to get those tickets. Stay right there. Text said, Rob, sorry if you've already talked about this, but what does the great one think the chances are that Ryan Day gets canned? That text is from Nasty.
All right, before I get to that, congratulations to Hurricane Jeff for winning the
Hey, P1 Jeff!
TSO tickets. The phones were lit up. Sorry if you didn't win today. You'll have another opportunity tomorrow and for the rest of the week, and I think part of next week too. I'll have to research that, but I know the rest of this week. So stay tuned. Probably same time every day because it's when I have the most time to actually screen the call, and I'm slow. As far as Ryan Day goes, man, I will tell you, like I said yesterday on the show, all my fans and friends is what I meant. I don't have fans in Ohio because they all went to school with me, and why would they be my fan? All my friends and family in Ohio want Ryan Day fired. They do. So people who live there want him fired. I will just say, look at his record. He beats everybody else. You got to beat Michigan. And the only way you keep your job is if you win the national championship. And he still may be in trouble.
We did talk about this very briefly yesterday, but I think it is worth bringing back up.
I talked about the darkest part of my soul who completely understands wanting him fired. But then there's the part of me that understands the importance of a national championship, especially winning the first 12 team after you were the team to win the first 4-team championship. I think that's an amazing thing, but I am still not convinced Ohio State's getting in. Everybody else is.
Here's what Todd McShay said about the situation.
Ryan Day's out as the Ohio State head coach after this season. You just put 10 on Michigan as the offensive coach, and now you got a riot on your own field with your own players. But you know what was terrible in this whole thing? And it's just Ryan Day, part of it you can say is having just the worst luck in the world. That Ryan Day, when the camera comes over to him, you can read his lips, and he says to one assistant walking by, "What happened?" And I get it. Like, his world's collapsing. But you're still the captain of this ship. And when you see all your players racing over the middle of the field, you better get involved, right? That's leadership. You get to a point in a crossroads, if you will, where I don't know how it would be productive for this program to move forward with him as the head coach, given the circumstances. Not because he can't do the job. And everyone's going to say, good luck finding someone better. I get it. And I agree. Good luck finding someone better than Ryan Day.
So I think that he kind of hits on all the major points there.
It bothers me what he's talking about getting involved, because if you watch the video, Ryan Day is next to some of his players. They're doing the alma mater thing. They're swaying back and forth. And then you can see behind him in the video. I just saw this video today, a perspective of a bunch of the players turning and running. And then he turns around and he walks towards it, trying to figure out what's going on. Would McShay rather he run into the middle of it, get pepper sprayed, get a little bloody? Is that what he wants him to do? Because I don't know what the right answer for that. What do you think he should have done?
I think what McShay is looking for here, and I think it is, if Ryan Day is to be let go, I can almost guarantee you this incident is going to, fairly or not, can almost guarantee this incident is going to be attached to the list of reasons that Ohio State wants to fire a guy who has won a natty, bid to the playoffs multiple times, get you there effectively every year.
Would you not want Ryan Day as your coach?
Well, so here's where I'm going with this. I think what McShay is pointing out here is that what you want in that moment is somebody who displays in a way that is obvious, because it was not. I was watching this game live, as were, I'm assuming, most of you. It did not appear in that moment like Ryan Day had any sense of control or command over the situation. And what I am ultimately looking for in that spot is a coach that I feel does. I'm looking for a coach.
I am going to interrupt here. Did Sharon Moore have control over his team?
Are we talking about your school or Michigan?
All right. I'm just saying, there were two teams involved in this fight. So why is Ryan Day getting this people coming at him and not coming at the Michigan coach who should have had the same control? And where was he? I don't know. Was he in the middle of the melee? Where was he?
This is respectfully a classic case of whataboutism. I'm not talking about Michigan. I'm talking about your team, a team that has a fan base of
we're also talking about a melee.
We're
talking about a melee, and there are two sides to a melee.
I just said that. I agree with you. There's two sides. They both did it. But we're not talking about one of them. We're talking about yours. And your fan base, the Ohio State University fan base, is the fan base that spent the offseason saying, if this guy loses to Michigan again for a fourth time in a row, then he's got to go. And so if you're losing to Michigan and it appears that in that moment, either A, you are incapable of, or B, unwilling to step into the fray and get the boys under sorts, and you lost to Michigan your fourth time in a row, then I'm simply saying if Ohio State cans day, they are going to attach a lack of control and leadership in what was one of, I think they will say, whether you agree with this or not, I don't know, I'm not in this rivalry.
Let me just ask you, if you were Todd McShay, why would you just go after one coach and not say something about the other?
Because Michigan fans aren't up in arms about their coach getting fired for losing 3 times or 4 times in a row.
It's piling on is what it is. Should he be fired for losing to Michigan? Most Ohio fans seem to think so.
That's why we're talking about.
But at the same time, he just didn't do anything. He just stood by. Where was his leadership? Where was the Michigan coach's leadership?
No,
I don't get why you don't get this. I really don't understand.
No. I've explained it to you twice. You just don't care, is what it comes down to. It is not about that. What it is about is you have one of the most prestigious, I will compliment the squad here, one of the most prestigious brands in all of college football. A brand that is on its way to its 1,000th consecutive playoffs, it feels like. And yet over here, you've got an entire fan base that has put this man on the hot seat. The Buckeye fans did this. Maybe not you specifically. Maybe not you guys individually.
I was talking about Tom McShay because you played that a couple of times.
I understand.
Todd McShay only focused on one team and not the other. He's not talking about the Buckeyes fan. He is talking about the coach. And for some reason, you will not recognize that side of it. I guess maybe you love Todd McShay. Maybe that's what it is.
Okay. Let me try one more time and actually listen to what I'm saying.
Okay. Only if you say that you'll listen to me because you haven't listened to me.
I have. I'm saying you're wrong about what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yes. Right. 2 teams were involved in the melee. Yes. I am embarrassed for both of these teams. I am embarrassed for their fan bases. I am embarrassed for their coaches, for their players. I'm embarrassed for all of them. But one of these teams has a coach that is on the hot seat and was placed there specifically by the fan base. One of these 2 teams has a head coach who has multiple playoff appearances. One of these 2 schools has a head coach that is being discussed as a possible NFL coach if he is released. Sharon Moore's not getting fired by Michigan for this, but Ryan Day might. The reason you talk about Ryan Day is because you may have a change in head coach at one of the most prestigious bands in football in a year they are going to the college football playoff. Michigan 7-5. Nobody cares. They're not going to the playoff. Nobody cares. They care about your brand because your brand's on the mountaintop right now. So you talk about the mountaintop, not those that are rolling around in squalor at the bottom. Also, I just said squalor. I'm very proud of myself. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
You are someday, without a doubt, going to spontaneously combust. And I don't know if I can make it. I know what a fire extinguisher is because I accidentally run into it almost every single day coming out of the stairwell. Probably less than an hour, James.
He would be unemployed for as long as it took him to get back to his office and pick up his cell phone.
You may have an assistant running next to him as he's walking off. Boss, got a phone call already.
Florida State's on the line.
No, you said they wouldn't get rid of him because of his contract, or would they get rid of him for Ryan Day?
They might.
Okay.
They'd come up with $50 million to get Ryan Day in there.
There's enough people from Ohio that moved to Florida. I don't know if they would do that or not. Ooh, Ross Bjork is speaking.
Marcus, you are welcome.
Coach Day does a great job leading our program. He's our coach, according to Ross Bjork.
Everything is music.
Wonder if Ross is related to Bjork. We're not talking wrestling to calm down because he's not entirely caught up. And yesterday was tumultuous.
I just got to the men's War Games match.
Tough love is still love. Stephen.
Women's match was pretty good, except for Nia Jax's chair shots.
She has to hold back. If she went full on and hit somebody with a chair, she would break one of those little girls. Because they're all like 5'2", dude.
But there's a difference between that and handing out Hogan WCW chair shots.
So she can't win because everyone, all she does is hurt people. So she tries not to hurt people.
I actually have complimented Nia Jax quite a bit recently for her improvement. She has been much better, much more entertaining. She's very funny during matches.
All right.
That was bad.
Let's get Chris in here, and I'll give you a chair, and you show me the proper way to do how Nia was doing the soft shots, and then you show me the proper way.
Gladly. Gladly. Happy to.
I don't think you'd hit Chris. There's somebody else in the building aside from me that you would, though. Let's get Stoneman in here. Because that would be the height comparison between that would be the height comparison between Nia Jax and some of the girls she's going against.
I would dust Stoneman. He would not get up.
I don't know. He's got Hobbit strength, I think. And he's British. You might give him a chair shot. He may look at you and say, "Is that all you got?"
He is a hooligan.
Might be how he gets going. A couple chair shots. Ready for tonight. Finger poke of doom.
It is the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Marcus said everybody else is going over every playoff scenario, and then I come here and it's all aliens and Bigfoot. Love it. First, for the record, we did not mention Bigfoot once. Okay.
Well, people on the stream did. So I mean, if you see that, it might have been James. Somebody on the stream mentioned.
Just to go back to the original segment there, Bigfoot is a wonderful example of something I would love actual real evidence for. I would love to know that Bigfoot's real. I think it would be super cool to find out that there was an 8-foot tall gorilla 8-person alien combination.
7'2"-ish. I don't know about 8
that
foot.
traipsed around the woods, around civilization for the entirety of humanity, and we just never saw him. That'd be awesome. That'd be super cool. It is like when they send one of my favorite Instagram followers is I think it's called Deep Blue, but there is a submersible ship that goes around the world to different parts of the ocean, and they deploy submersibles, and they have it piloted, and there's like 4 or 5 biologists, I guess, and they talk as this submersible floats around the ocean floor. And they go like, oh, that's a this creature, that's a that thing, and this is what they do. And there was one a couple of months ago where they found a whale fall, where like a dead whale falls to the bottom of the ocean. That becomes an oasis of life for like months until that thing is picked clean. And then about once every 3 or 4 dives down, they find some undiscovered species of creature, of animal that nobody's ever seen before. And that is always the most fascinating thing in the world to me. I would be down for something like Bigfoot. But what I'm not down for is continuing to ignore the actual problems that we could fix in the world in favor of people screaming about aliens. Stop. Okay. Now we're gonna move on from that. Let's get to the phone lines. My caller thing is not showing anybody. So who do we have?
My caller thing
ain't working.
This new thing over here.
My pooter is just
working.
out of sorts this week, y'all.
Maybe if you were nicer to it. Well, we have Creed.
Maybe if it would listen to what I was saying. Creed, what's up, big dog? Welcome back to the show, brother.
Cal-Pens has an anti-defensive system where we don't let our caller ID be shown.
I respect that.
Very advanced.
I respect that. Cal-Pens locking it down for consumer protection out there.
Well, I don't really care much about the Ohio State thing, but I do got to admit, if you could let me, let's say the Gamecocks, if you could let us win about 3 national championships over the next 10 years, I'll lose Clemson every year. I'll be fine with that. I'd be fine if you give us some national championships.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. And I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't know the Ryan Day, but how can you win that many games and then you are talking about on a hot seat? And the Melee thing, they planted their flag. It's like somebody coming onto your property, destroying your property. And you're like, oh, how dare you fight them? I would think the vast majority of people are like, hell yeah, fight them. They're destroying your property.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Thank you, Creed. And by the way, they never actually planted the flag.
Well, they can't plant the flag because it's AstroTurf.
Well, he started to plant the flag, and he stopped them from ever accomplishing
well,
that.
they were trying to destroy my place.
There you
stopped them.
Look, it's we talked about this at length yesterday. It's going to be a conversation that's going to be around until Saturday when the conference championship games kick off, and then nobody will care about them anymore, Creed. But look, planting a flag it's the ultimate sign of disrespect, right? And to the people that have been saying for the last couple of days, like, oh, what's the big deal? If you want to do it, win. If you want to do it, win. Fine. What would happen if somebody came up to your house and like took down your American flag and put up a Canadian flag? You'd be like, yo, bro, let's scrap. But that's because you have a deep dying, I hope, passion, unbridled love of the country. And that flag is the symbol that represents everything about it. Well, if you're a Buckeye, that block O represents something that is one of the things in your life you are the absolute most passionate about. And that block M represents the thing you hate the most in life. So when somebody comes in and they raise that flag over yours, yes, of course, it is disrespectful. I'm tired of people saying it wasn't Creed. If it wasn't disrespectful, they wouldn't do it. That's the whole point. The disrespect is the friggin' point, right? So I am not busted up. I am not busted up about these players, Ohio State's players, Florida State's players, North Carolina's players, Virginia's players. I'm not mad at these players for wanting to get into a scrap with guys from the other side that are showing what is considered by many to be the ultimate sign of disrespect in their house. It does not bother me. What I am saying is going to be the downfall of Ryan Day, or at least a reason that is attached to it, Creed, is the fact that while all this is happening, Mike Norvell is out there taking the flag away from Gator players and throwing it himself. Steve Sarkisian is running up and down the sideline telling his guys, don't you dare. Absolutely not. You're off the team if you do. Every other coach was like actively involved in trying to break this thing down. And Ryan Day's just kind of like standing off to the side, asking other coaches what's going on. When you do that and you lose to the rival, that's why fans put you on the hot seat. But last thought, and then I'll let you finish up, Creed, because I'm going to go back to what you said at the beginning. You put me even just in a position to win 4 or 5 natties in 5 or 6 years. I don't care if I lose to my rival every year if I'm bringing home hardware that says I'm the best in the country.
Yeah. And I hate to change you, but on a quick note, and this is just kind of a dream, but what if the committee comes, because it does come down to either two ACC teams or Alabama or South Carolina. What if they put, I know this is crazy, but tonight they put South Carolina and Alabama tied and say we're going to wait for the result. If Clemson wins, the South Carolina win means more. We're going to put South Carolina in. If Clemson loses, we're going to put Alabama and SMU in because the win didn't mean as much.
It's an interesting thought. I'm going to tell you, Creed, I appreciate the phone call, brother. Thanks for checking in. It's an interesting thought. That would be compelling if nothing else, for sure. But I'm also going to point out that if one game's value was going to make enough of a difference to overcome the combination of, because I think there are two factors, the combination of the head-to-head loss, which, again, we now know can't be the reason Alabama's ahead of South Carolina, because if it was the reason Alabama was ahead of South Carolina, Ole Miss would be ahead of South Carolina as well, right? Like if that was the reason, Ole Miss and Alabama would both be ahead of South Carolina, but they're not. The second thing I think is in play here, without a doubt, is, and I know you're tired of hearing it, but I don't care because I'm right. Brand, the logo, the history, the previous involvement, the ability to get the Southeastern Conference yet one more team into the fold. All of those things come into play. And I understand that South Carolina is also an SEC team and would give the SEC one more team. But Bama has a brand that is nationally recognized. Bama has built a brand under Nick Saban that Kalen DeBoer is going to. Kalen DeBoer is not under the pressure to go in and begin winning natties immediately. Kalen DeBoer is under the pressure to go in and uphold the brand that Nick Saban built. That's the pressure on Kalen DeBoer. That's what that brand is. That's what that brand says. That's what matters about that brand. So there is a reason, Creed, and I don't know if you heard me say it earlier in the show. Last night when I went to bed, Alabama was plus 105 to go to the college football playoffs. This morning, they are minus 200. You know what that means? That means somebody last night in Dallas, Texas, where the college football playoff committee is meeting, somebody got drunk in a bar and said something. Somebody slapped back a couple of Jack and Diets and was like, yeah, man, Alabama's going to get in. And it got overheard and it got passed to Las Vegas. Alabama's in over South Carolina.
Is it possible for someone like that to disclose information falsely on purpose to make people think they're going one way or the other?
It certainly is, but you know, that would be very interesting in that you would have, usually in a spot like that, my assumption is when Vegas gets a tip, information like that, they want confirmation before they make such a dramatic shift in odds. By moving Bama from plus 105 to minus 200, they took a lot of potential bets off the table. Let me get Chris in here real quick before we head to the break. Chris, welcome in, big fella. Good to have you back, buddy.
Hey, when you were talking about the Block O being something that Ohio State found sacred, they really embraced the sacredness of it, because didn't that represent how many points they scored in the second half on Saturday?
It did. Hence the maybe if you showed that much fight during the game, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
I don't think it was a Block O. I think it was a big fat zero. There's a difference.
Then there's also the fact that Ryan Day looks like the department store manager that fires Santa Claus in a Hallmark movie. You just can't trust anybody that uses that much beard dye and wants to fight an 80-year-old man after a game. Talk about a fan base that needs to learn how to lose. I mean, their idea of a down season is going 6-6. So enjoy a little bit of humility at the hands of Michigan, even though you're still going to get everything that you ever wanted, which is a home playoff game for some God only knows reason. And I'm sure that the fan base will find a way to scrape together enough nickels, take the hubcap off of their home, and be able to make their way to the Fiesta Bowl or wherever it is, paint themselves up in some white and red face paint, put some ridiculous necklace on, and then have surrender cobras once they face a team with a pulse. So we're all looking forward to that come December.
I love you, Chris, and thank you for writing it all down before you said it. Because remembering that stuff, you gotta make sure you and going, that doesn't quite work. Let me put this in there and that stuff. And it's not white. It's scarlet and gray.
Yeah, Chris, it's scarlet and gray.
And there's all that. That was a valiant effort, though.
It's a good call.
Good try.
Good call.
I mean, he
I like
called
it.
and said he was going to make fun of Ohio State, and I could have said, I'm not going to put him on, but I'm not going to do that. I mean,
no, we are fair and impartial to everyone.
Well, we're fair
at all times.
I don't know about being impartial.
You're not impartial.
No, I'm not. I mean,
at all.
Obviously, I'm just a man of the people.
If you fire Ryan Day.
The hubcap thing, though,
That's a good joke.
No,
it's a good joke.
No, it's not.
Good joke.
It's you know what? It's a sign that he may be a little bit older. Because who has hubcaps anymore?
Everybody has hubcaps.
You ain't got
everybody.
You
not
ain't
everybody.
got
Everybody. Not everybody.
I don't have a hubcap. You don't have a hubcap. Let's look out there right now. How many hubcaps do you see in the parking lot?
Got to be at least a couple.
Really?
There's one right there. Honda Accord right there's got hubcaps for sure.
Does it?
That Scion's got hubcaps on it.
Does it?
Yes, I'm looking at them.
Yeah, I can't.
Not making it up.
I can't stand up because of pain. So I'm just gonna agree with you.
There's an older Ranger down there who's got hubcaps on it.
Well, yeah, but according to Chris, all those vehicles look new.
You know who's got hubcaps? Buckeye fans on their houses. Boom, roasted. It's a good joke, Chris. I liked it.
Is it though?
I liked it.
I don't know. I mean, so what you're saying is, everyone from Ohio is poor, and it's okay to make fun of the poor. That's what I'm getting at.
No, it's okay to make fun of Buckeye.
I'm surprised you didn't say single wides or something like that too. I mean,
there's a double wide joke in there somewhere.
This is definitely a class war thing, and it's
Chris,
fine.
never.
I'm not going to accuse you of being from an ag school and where they worship cows, but maybe you are. Maybe you are, because there's a lot of anger from that school towards Ohio State.
So you're anti-farmer.
Absolutely. Cows are the cause of global warming. There we go. Flatulence is a bad thing, Rob.
Do the sports flash.
Hey, the Denver Broncos are still in a wild card position after a 41-32 win over the Cleveland Browns last night. Rookie quarterback Bo Nix completed 18 of 35 passes for 294 yards and a 93-yard touchdown. The Denver defense picked off Jameis Winston 3 times and took 2 back to the house. Denver improves to 8-5. San Francisco 49er running back Christian McCaffrey is headed back to the injured reserve list after suffering what the team called a PCL injury that was sidelining him for roughly 6 weeks. And same afternoon, McCaffrey's backup, Jordan Mason, was placed on the IR with a high ankle sprain. So if you have any running back experience, give the 49ers a call. They may, hire you. I don't know. Tune in tomorrow at 6:30 as the Furman Paladins take on the Florida Gulf Coast Eagles. It's Furman versus FGCU right here on the Fan Upstate. It's okay, James. I'm already on all those lists, so we're good. I don't have hubcaps, but they don't put them on smart cars. So, I mean, it's not room in the smart car. And if they did, it'd be like a pot lid. Can't wait till I have time to actually go look and see if he's right about the hubcaps.
Restore your mobility and give you long-term relief with no downtime. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetic are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatment for your aging. This is the future of medicine. Call for a free consultation.
Rob will be back from his safe space here in a minute. All right, I guess I'm blind, but I only see one car that might have hubcaps. That's Chris's car. Where do you see hubcaps? Chris's car, maybe.
Chris's car has them.
I said maybe Chris's car, but I don't see any other ones.
Those are hubcaps on top of rims.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
They are not. Oh, you talking about on Steve's car?
On the Kia over there.
So you're pointing at Steve's
No,
car.
on the Kia, those are hubcaps.
Where's
On
the
the
Kia?
Accord there
Is
are.
it the one next to
No, the
Devin's?
silver one by itself right there in the middle.
That's not. Those are not
Those
hubcaps.
are hubcaps on
They're
top
not
of rims.
hubcaps, dude. I'm telling you.
That Ranger or whatever that little black truck is, that's hubcaps on it.
All right, that might be hubcaps.
Those are definitely hubcaps.
These are not. These spiral.
Those are
rims.
hubcaps on this guy's. Absolutely on this
Those are
car.
not.
Those are not rims.
That's part of the rims, dude. I'm
Those are
telling
not
you.
rims.
If it wasn't so cold, we'd go home, go out and check. It's too cold to be going out and checking. I thought that was yours. Is that Diesel's?
Oh, dang. Oh no.
Golf soccer.
But I'm absolutely bringing the putter.
Yeah, that's what I was going to. Why would Ben bring it in? He is in here a little bit. I just don't. I do kind of picture him with the putter type thing. Oh, crud. Pay attention to the clock, Reitzel. They can't see us, James. If they're looking at the windows, all they do, well, actually, they can see us. They'll just see us, staring out over the parking lot as our pictures are on the windows. So the only time you could see us through those windows now, I believe, is at night. It's not night anymore. So, if there was another putter that's not your putter, would you use it?
For that, yeah. On a golf course.
And definitely not at mini golf. So, yeah, I know. I saw it firsthand. So, but you're not the only one ever. So you do that. Just golfing elitists. Oh, I want to win too, but maybe not.
So, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee will meet and will broadcast their meetings results. Their penultimate rankings will drop this evening. What are we looking at? By the way, I will be on BetMGM tonight at 8 p.m. I'll be with Brad Evans and Ryan Horvat reacting to those rankings as they are released at 8 o'clock when that show begins.
Do you get angry on that show? I'm just curious.
No, not really.
Okay, all right.
But usually on that show, when I say a thing, Ryan doesn't go, yeah, no, Rob, you're lying about the thing that you're saying now.
They just let you go and say, all right, thanks for coming on, Rob. And then they move on to
They go,
else.
That's an excellent point from a guy who very clearly knows ball. That's why we have this guy on.
I'll have to tune in to hear those exact words because, it's awesome that you're on a national show, but you're not angry there because your passion is what's appreciated here. And I'm sure is what's helped you to win 3 SCBA Star Awards. And so why not bring that passion to the national show? So if I tuned in tonight and things don't go the way that you think they should as a no or a ball, you're going to get angry on that show.
Oh, for
right?
sure. I have, but it's just that usually I'm right. So, there's not much to get angry about.
I'm just guessing those guys probably would back off.
I've gotten angry before.
Be okay.
One of them made Horvat. Actually, Horvat, who is he's a bro now. Like Ryan and I text back and forth all the time. Horvat
must be nice.
A week and a half ago, made a Saints pass interference joke, and I got a little heated. College football playoff ranking set to drop this evening. Here is what we know as of right now. As of right now, the Oregon Ducks are going to be the number 1 seed tonight. That is not going to change.
That is the only definite thing.
That is, no, I think it's pretty definite that Texas is going to be number 2. I think it is pretty definite SMU is going to be number 3 because they are projected to win the ACC, or at least that is the role they have found themselves in all year long. And I think it is. And by the way, this is my bracket as it stands right now. This is not the 1, 2, and 3, and 4. This is where I think they are going to be seated. Based on if the season ended tonight, which it doesn't, based on tonight's rankings. I think that when the rankings drop out tonight, if we were filling in a bracket, Oregon would be the 1 seed. Texas would be the 2 seed, winning the Southeastern Conference. I also think they will be the 2 seed tonight. The number 3 seed will likely be the SMU Mustangs. They will be projected to win this game. Now, looking at the BetMGM odds for this weekend's conference championship game, and I am working on pulling those up right now. Okay.
All right. According to Adam Schefter, NFL is suspending Texas linebacker Aziz Ashair 3 games for the hit he delivered Sunday to Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that checks out. That
sounds kind of a lot of people were thinking that they were going to hammer it home a little. That's probably not a good choice of words. More by giving him a bigger suspension.
3 games for a hit's pretty big. If you didn't see it, Alshair came across and Trevor Lawrence had, I think, in my ever so humble opinion, definitely started his slide already. And Alshair knocked the absolute tar out of Trevor Lawrence, put him in the fencer's post, definitely gave him a concussion. Is that news now breaking on ESPN? Breaking news brought to you by BetMGM. Be a better, be smarter, beat the books. And the BetQL Network, home of Bet for the Cycle, every Saturday from noon to 4 with myself and former Major League Baseball player Cody Decker. It's the BetQL Network presented by our friends at BetQL and BetMGM. That's Aziz Alshair is of course going to catch a suspension. A lot of folks thought it might have been closer to 5. They're going to hit him with 3. I think 3 is probably very fair.
Will he appeal?
I don't think it's going to matter. That was A, brutal, and B, Alshair has a history of this type of behavior. He has been fined or suspended on, I think, 5 or 6 different occasions during his career. This is a dude who didn't just like snap and make a mistake. This is a cat who, not to be dramatic, but committed assault. Like, was there anyone in America who did not see that Trevor Lawrence was like, it wasn't like he had just initiated the slide either. Like, he was well past the start of slide. He was sliding enough that, like, I understood while the Jags fans were trying to beat his ass afterwards.
He did come in with forearm.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely looked intentional. I don't see how it wasn't.
If you were going to put together if you asked AI to put together a GIF of doing everything wrong, it would have been that hit. It would have been that. That's one thing. And then did you read his apology note, by the way? It's got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. He said, and let me pull up the apology note. I'd like to read it to you because it's absolutely hilarious. All right? Not hilarious, pathetic. but hilarious because of how pathetic it is. He said, and I quote, "I've always played the game as hard as I could, never with the intent to harm anyone, and anybody that knows me knows that. My goal is to hit you as hard as I can, and then I pray you're still able to get up and play the next play. And when the game is over, go home to your family unharmed because it's not personal, it's just competition. We are both trying to do the same thing, which is provide for our families. I genuinely didn't see him sliding until it was too late, and it all happens in the blink of an eye. To Trevor, I genuinely apologize to you for what ended up happening." Slick, yeah? I don't apologize I did it. I apologize for what happened. "Before the game we spoke and I told you how it was great to see you back out on the field and wished you well. I would never want to see any player hurt because of a hit I put on them, especially one that's deemed late or unnecessary. To the rest of his teammates, I can definitely understand you having his back and defending him in a situation like that. To the rest of the people who I've been called every single name in the book, from reporters with their hands ready for a story to find them to find their villain, to a racist and Islamophobic fans and people, you don't know my heart nor my character, which I don't need to prove to any of you. God knows my intentions, and anyone who has ever been a teammate or a friend of mine knows my heart." There's nothing in the world.
Okay, I was unaware of his religion. All I saw is that was not a good hit. That was bad, and it looked intentional, and he should be suspended.
There are very few things that aggravate me more than when someone commits I don't want to call it a crime. When someone commits a misdeed against someone else.
Off the football field, that's definitely battery.
100%. Nothing drives me crazier than when, and I'm sorry, it's just a personal stance. Nothing drives me crazier than when someone does something that is blatantly and obviously a misdeed against someone else, and they immediately run to, well, actually, I'm a man of faith, and you don't know my character, and God loves me, so I'm off the hook. No. I hope all those things are true. I hope they make your life better. But you're not getting off the hook by going, actually, I'm a religious guy. I don't care. In this case, I don't care. You quite literally, by engaging in a hit that was not just late, not just unnecessary, but was exceptionally dangerous. And everybody knew it. Don't tell me that was a blink of an eye hit. I see quarterbacks make that slide all the time, and guys pull off of it. And if you're incapable of pulling off of that hit, then you don't need to be out there playing football, my guy. Then you are not in control of your body enough to justify being a professional football player. Trey Texas Show said, that sounds like the apology of someone would say that doesn't know the consequences of their actions. Man, that's it. That's it. I don't think that this young cat, would I make this a big deal if it was anybody else? Yes. Yes, I would. Because somebody just texted the show and said, Rob, obvious Clemson homer. Of course he's defending Trevor Lawrence. Knock it off, dude. Knock it off.
Wait, now it's all clear. I didn't see it before.
Yep, I know. Rob Brown, noted Clemson homer, just mad that my guy TL16 got, assaulted on the football field.
Trust me, he's not. He could not exist where he lives if he were.
That's correct. I wouldn't be married the way I'm married if so. Look, man, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's a blatantly bad hit. Quarterbacks run and slide like that all the time, and you're the guy who delivered that hit. Of course you are taking a punishment. Of course, you are taking a suspension. It is going to be accompanied, as it should be, by a lofty fine. That can't be allowed. I will acknowledge that over the past couple of years, even I have gotten frustrated at times with the way that NFL officials have legislated hits on the football field. This whole thing of, if you're a pass rusher and you make a swat at the ball and you miss the ball and you hit the quarterback in the head, that's 15 yards. Like, I don't love that. I don't love that tackling a quarterback below the knees have you seen what offensive linemen do now? They know that. If you start to beat an offensive lineman, what do? They just push you to the ground because you can't tackle from down there, right? Like, I think we have over-legislated. I am all for player safety. I am all for sustaining the health and well-being of players. I think it absolutely is and should remain a priority for the league. But what you just did, my guy, this hit that you put on Trevor Lawrence, and I wouldn't care if it was Trevor Lawrence, if it was Patrick Mahomes, if it was Lamar Jackson, if it was Tua Tagovailoa, I don't care who you put that hit on. You know that's a dirty hit. Everyone in America knows that's a dirty hit. Of course you're catching the suspension. This whole if you criticize me, you're Islamophobic. No, bro. I acknowledge that there are a lot of Islamophobic people out there. I acknowledge that there are probably a lot of people out there who just see your name and think bad things. And I'm sorry about that. That's atrocious. That's awful. Shouldn't be that way.
First I heard of his religion. I'm not
saying Lonzo is that way.
No, I wonder if there are a lot of people that way. And I'm just him bringing it into his apology, as you were pointing out.
I think there are absolutely a lot of people out there that are like that. Do I think it is a majority of the country? No. But we have 330 million people in the country. There's a large percentage of people who are going to hate the guy just because of his name, religion, and background. Sure, I will acknowledge, and I will even go so far as to say it would not shock me in the least if he has actually been harassed because of his religion and his name. Sure. But in this case, my guy, you did something very wrong. You did something very inappropriate. You did something very dangerous. So no, you don't get to cover this up by going, oh, some people are Islamophobic. Yes, they are. But what you did is bad. You don't get to cover this up by going, oh, actually, I'm a man of deep faith. I don't care.
Apparently,
I don't care. That has nothing to do with this.
He attempted to choke Tom Brady, according to what I'm seeing.
Well, that's where it all started. That's why everybody likes you.
That's why right there. I found it.
I don't remember every incident, but I know this cat has been fined or suspended like a number of times. So not only was it a dangerous hit, not only was it an unacceptable hit, not only was it a hit that everyone knows was inappropriate, was illegal. I mean, at the end of the day, it's very clearly an illegal hit, and it's illegal for exactly the reasons that you just put on full display for America. You literally endangered Trevor Lawrence's life for no reason at all. You don't get to go, oh, Islamophobia, oh, racism, oh, actually, I'm a man of God. No. That's fine. You better go say some penance in church then, because what you did was a crime against football.
I don't think they do that. Okay, according to Ian Rappaport, NFL VP of Football Ops John Runyon said, your lack of sportsmanship and respect for the game of football and all those who play, coach, and enjoy watching it is troubling and does not reflect the core values of the NFL.
Very fair. It's a pattern of behavior. If it was a hit, like this was the first incident this guy's had, then maybe in that spot you would go, all right, man, hit him with like a $20,000 fine, hope he learned the lesson, and just put him on notice. I think you should start tracking this stuff the way that they track on sportsmanlike conducts, right? In a game, you get one, you get a second one, you're ejected, whatever. Start doing this too. Hey, man, your second hit like that, you're out 3 games. Third hit, you're out 5 games. Fourth hit, you're out half a season. Fifth hit, you're out for a full season. Sixth hit, you're out of the league. Like, there cannot be room for any sort of oopsie-daisy in this. You get one oopsie. You get one oopsie that comes with a fine. Everything out after that, you're missing time and paychecks. Stop with the excuses. Stop with the crap. You can't do that. You can't do that. All right, now when we come back, let's take a look at what the bracket would look like if the bracket comes out to the way that I think the rankings are going to drop tonight. We will do that when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Lights.
All right, guys, quick read. We're back after this. Stay right there. friends, it's Rob Brown. I hope you're enjoying the show. If you're not, I don't know why you're here, but I am glad that you are. Hey, do us a favor. Whether you're enjoying it or not, would you mind sharing this around your social media, please? And thank you, Twitter, X, whatever you call it. I don't care. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it doesn't matter to me. Help us get the good word out. We're trying to get famous and rich, and we can't do it without your help. So, The Rob Brown Show is on all social media, or share the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, wherever you're watching this, and we'd appreciate it very much. Now, let's get back to the show. Stick around.
To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-580-7766. 800-580-7766. That's 800-580-7766.
Upstate. Here's how to get in the game. On your radio at 97.7 FM, 1330 AM, Greenville. 97.1 FM, 950 AM, Spartanburg.
Listen on your phone. Download the Odyssey.
That's not good. Martial law has been declared in South Korea.
Oh.
Seen several people report it, none of which I know who they are, including John Cho. John Cho sounds like a news reporter for sure.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan Upstate. We have our AP poll. The AP poll has been, by and large, pretty reflective of what the playoff rankings are going to turn into. So, using the AP poll and what I think you are going to end up seeing out of tonight's rankings of the college football playoff, here is what I think we are looking at tonight. Oregon's going to be the number 1 seed. That might be the only thing that is for sure. I believe the champion of the Southeastern Conference is going to get the 2nd seed and a first-round bye. As of right now, let's work on the assumption that that is the Texas Longhorns. The number 3 seed, if SMU knocks off Clemson, will belong to the Ponies. If they do not, then the 3 seed will go to, likely, assuming they win the Mountain West Conference, the Boise State Broncos. But for the time being, let's just pick all the favorites winning. No disrespect, Clemson fans. If it was the other way around, I'd put you in this spot. It is a hypothetical for the sake of illustration. SMU is a 2.5-point favorite over Clemson Saturday night in Charlotte, North Carolina. If SMU wins the ACC, then they would be the 3 seed. If Boise State wins the Mountain West, they would be, assuming SMU wins the ACC, the 4th highest ranked conference champion. They would end up being the 4 seed and catching the bye. Now, Boise State could still end up with the number 12 seed if the Big 12 champion somehow ends up being ranked higher. But as those 2 teams are ranked number 12 and below, there is no guarantee of that. Remember, in our AP poll, Boise State is number 10, Arizona State is number 12. If Arizona State, if these were the playoff rankings, if Arizona State was to knock off Iowa State, their opponent in the Big 12 championship game this year, and if that team were to jump Boise State, because Boise State doesn't move up with another unranked Mountain West opponent, then the Big 12 would get that last seed, and Boise State would go down to number 12. But that is not written in stone yet, obviously. Assuming everything else stays the same, this is what your bracket could end up looking like. The 8-9 game would be the number 9 Tennessee Volunteers on the road going to play the Ohio State Buckeyes, who I think would get in at number 8 and host a game. Of course, the winner of that game, the 8-9 game, is the team that would end up taking on the Oregon Ducks, the number 1 overall seed. As long as Ohio State is ranked in the committee's top 7, which I think they will be, they will likely host a first-round game. The 12-5 game, if the bracket ended today, would be the Arizona State Sun Devils, the Big 12 champs, sneaking in that final seed. The Arizona State Sun Devils taking on the number 5 Penn State Nittany Lions. The winner of the 12-5 game would get number 4 Boise State. The 11-6 matchup, this is where it gets very interesting because that 11 spot would possibly end up being the spot that an at-large team from the pool of at-large teams would slip into. You are looking at the possibility of Miami as a one-loss ACC team getting into that spot. You are looking at the possibility of Alabama getting that spot. You are looking at the possibility of Ole Miss getting that spot. And you are looking at the possibility of South Carolina getting that spot. And this is where that discussion comes into play. What is the criteria that the playoff committee is going to view as the most important this week? Is it heads up wins? Because if it is, South Carolina's bounced at the get. Is it strength of schedule? Because if so, I would make the argument South Carolina is the selection committee spot. Is it fewer losses? Because if so, that's Miami with a weaker schedule, but only 2 losses compared to 3 for South Carolina, Alabama, and Ole Miss. Who slides into that number 11 spot? My guess is Alabama. Now, the University of Miami, despite not having success or winning any hardware in a very long time, Miami is a national brand as well. And by inviting a national brand with a pair of losses in the University of Miami, including a bad one at Syracuse, but hey, here we are. By inviting Miami, the playoff committee has done a couple of things. Number 1, they've invited an interesting team. Number 2, if there is one thing that is more important than getting the national brands into the conversation, it is taking advantage of the hype created by players. And whether you like it or not, there are very few quarterbacks nationally that have generated more on-the-field buzz than Cam Ward, the quarterback of the Miami Hurricanes. So if you put Miami in that spot, number 1, you get to say, see, regular season losses do matter. Whether they do or not, I don't know. None of us can. Only the people in that room can. But you get to say, regular season losses still hurt you. And that's why we went with the team that has 2 instead of 3. Number 2, it lets you put a national brand into the mix that carries along with that national brand the hype of a quarterback in Cam Ward that everybody is paying attention to this season. And number 3, and I don't know how much, if any, this matters, but number 3, it allows you to get 2 ACC teams in. And at a point in time where the ACC, at least for a while, have you noticed that the demolishing of the ACC conversation has kind of taken a bit of a back seat since the football season started? And I mean, that's not a shock. I told you that it would, right? I said, once we get boys out on the field snapping the football, all of the conference drama, all of the conference expansion, all of that conversation is going to be paused. We're gonna walk away from that because at the end of the day, it's the exact same reason that no matter what it is, for what reason it is this year that everybody said, I'm not watching football no more. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Everybody comes back. We love football too much. We love this game too much. So at a point in time where the ACC could very well descend into madness this offseason, you put in a second Atlantic Coast Conference team in this spot, and you get to go see, not only do regular season losses matter, we get a national brand, we get maybe the most talked about quarterback in college sports this year, and you get to kind of play nice with the ACC for a minute and hope that they don't blow this thing up and convolute it any further by splitting off into their own thing or watching, 3/4 of their teams decide that they're going to pay the exit fee and jettison to the next level. The more I think about it, the more I can make the argument that Miami ends up in this spot. Not Alabama, not Mississippi, and not South Carolina. South Carolina has, sure, the hype of Lenore Sellers, who is absolutely busted onto the scene, and they do have the Southeastern Conference brand behind them. But if there's a 3-loss team from the SEC that's going to go, the TV eyes matter. It's going to be Alabama. I think this spot in this 11-6 contest comes down to Alabama or Miami. Taking on number 6, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's absolutely getting in. That game will get the winner of SMU, we'll get SMU, the 3 seed, assuming the favorites all win. And finally, the 10 seed would go to the University of to the University of Indiana. Indiana would take on the University of Georgia. The Hoosiers would come on down to Athens to go between the hedges and play the Dogs. So this creates a world where your last 2 in are the winner of the Big 12 game, which I think right now we are playing the game with just picking the favorites from the weekend, would be the Arizona State Sun Devils, who will not get in with an Iowa State win. Iowa State would. But the Arizona State Sun Devils. You would have Miami versus Alabama as the who deserves it more according to the committee contenders, which would leave the loser of Iowa State and Arizona State out. It would leave possibly, though with just 2 losses, everything we said about Miami is true for SMU if they lose the ACC title game, with one exception. They don't have that one player. They don't have that must-watch guy. They don't have a guy that you can say, well, if you don't watch SMU play, you're missing out because so-and-so goes bananas. But if SMU loses to Clemson, SMU might eat up a spot as well. They may still get in as a 2-loss team over Alabama and or over South Carolina. So that's a game to pay attention to as well. I would go with, if you are South Carolina, I think you're just outright hoping for SMU to win this game. And then you just got to hope the committee is more impressed with you than Miami. Ole Miss, South Carolina will be out as well. So that's just kind of my thoughts on how this whole thing might possibly shape up based on what we see tonight. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Why is Syracuse a bad loss?
I would say, well, first off, it's not a good loss. We can all agree with it. It's not a good loss, right? Let's start with that. It's really not an awful loss, all things considered. That's a 9-3 football team. But when you have your back against the wall, as Miami did, and it's win and get into the title game, it's a bad loss in that it bumped you out of that spot. again, the more I thought about it, and I really came up with that thought during the last break. The more I thought about it, the more I really do think everybody's been yelling about Bama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. And I get it. I get it. You have all been trained to believe that the SEC just deserves it for existing. But the more I thought about it, the more I think maybe Miami is the call there. You get a national brand. You get a highly touted, probably Heisman Trophy finalist at quarterback.
Earn 1.5% cash back on all your holiday purchases with the Capital One Quicksilver card. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details. Jake from State Farm. I just beat my running PR, so I'm celebrating with the Banana Bonanza smoothie.
Hey, and you can keep celebrating when you create an affordable price just for you by bundling your home and auto with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. Go bananas.
I will. Hey, make it a large.
Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices are vary by state.
Anyway, 3 ACC teams get in if Clemson beats SMU. I don't think there's a spot for 3 at that point because you still got to put the Mountain West champ in there, assuming it is Boise State. That eats up a spot. You've got to put the Big 12 champion as the 5th best conference champion.
Deliciousness to your game day dishes this football season.
This holiday season, Straight Talk Wireless is letting you save.
I mean, it's not impossible, Cruz. It's not impossible. I think it would have to be. The other thing is, I think that really only happens if Clemson SMU turns out to be an absolute barn burner of a game. SMU gets like beat by Clemson. No, I think they get bounced.
It's worse than that, Keegan. It's worse than that.
No, life is never going to get better, and that was evidenced by what happened to Big E last night.
That's what happens when people turn sour.
Join us on our live stream, Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, The Fan Upstate on YouTube, The Rob Brown Show on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitch. Kyle jumped in the chat. He said, do you think the committee gives any weight to the Bush League penalties that cost Carolina the LSU game? I'll tell you what I said earlier in the show, Kyle. And this is just me being me. Sorry about it. Last year, the committee said, we do not value what your team looks like without your starting quarterback. They did so negatively for Florida State University. FSU lost Jordan Travis. They, despite losing Jordan Travis, went on the road and knocked off the Florida Gators and who was it, Louisville, if I recall correctly, to win the ACC with an undefeated record. But they lost Jordan Travis, their starting quarterback, in the process. And in losing Jordan Travis, the committee basically said, you're not the same team without your starting quarterback. And so they bumped FSU and made room for Alabama to climb in at number 4. Would the committee be willing to look at that LSU game and say, Carolina was cooking the Tigers. Carolina was cooking the Tigers until Lenore Sellers went out. And once Sellers went out, then the officiating crew lost their mind and South Carolina could not fight back, though they might have been able to if Lenora Sellers was 100%, right? If he was fully healthy, would this have gone the other way? The answer is, I'd like to say probably not. Probably not, because I do not think, even though they literally did it last year, in this case, and this is, I think, the biggest frustration that most of us have, is that it feels like logic is applied inconsistently across the college football playoff selection committee, right? Like last year, Florida State got bumped because everybody said, "Oh, well, without their starting quarterback, they just can't win," which led to the war cry that I ran around with my hair on fire about last year. Led to the war cry of, okay, so what you're saying is the imaginary hypothetical games that you played in your noggin are more important than the actual games that got played on the field, right? Because Florida State played 13 of them, including a pair of them without Jordan Travis. They won every one of them, including Florida and the ACC championship game. And you still bumped them out. What that says to me is the imaginary games that you play in your head are more important than the results on the field. And so they've already set precedent that they are willing to overlook certain results if they basically have a team that excels at or fails our favorite phrase in college football, the eye test. The subjective eye test. I watched this team. I watched with my eyeballs, and I think that this team is capable of X, is better than X, is worse than Y, whatever. I don't think they are going to give you that benefit of the doubt. This is why I keep coming back to what I've been harping on, to the point now that I'm probably close to as sick of saying it as you guys are of hearing it. This is why I think it goes back to the brand conversation. The college football 12-team playoff was set up for one reason and one reason alone. Cash money. Cash money. Paper, cheddar, cheese, whatever you want to call it. It was set up to make the most people the most money possible. They didn't set up a 12-team bracket because they truly believe that there's a chance any given year that number 8 can beat number 1 and win the Natty. They set up the 12-team playoff because it took us from 3 games to, what do we got? 4 in the first round, 4 in the second round for 8. 2 more in the second. So you're, I'm real bad at math. 9, 10, 11. So 11 games. We have 11 games now. We went from 3 to 11. Do you know how much capacity that is when you have 11 football games that you can sell advertising in? 11 football games that you can go put on the market? 11 football games that you can rake in money from? That is, and I'm not a big math guy, so I don't know, but I believe that is what the experts refer to as a ton of money. That's why we're here. And so again, when it has been proven, and this is something I have, even I have had to accept over the years, at the end of the day, when Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, any of those teams are on TV, the ratings go up inevitably and consistently. When Uga or Bucky or Neyland or whoever else is on TV, more people tune in. The reason we have a 12-team playoff is to get more people to tune in. So would the committee look at what happened to South Carolina at the end of the LSU game and effectively not hold their first of 3 losses against them? The answer to me is no. I don't think so. Because again, and it comes down to, and maybe one day I'm proven wrong about all this. And honestly, in a weird way, I kind of hope I am. But it comes down to, for me, you got a shot to get Alabama in if you're the committee. You get a shot to get in a brand that you know sells, to get in a brand that you know makes money, to get in a brand that is going to up the television viewership just by existing, just by being there. You're going to find a way to get them in. I understand right now that Gamecock fans are fighting to find every reason to convince the committee to come off of it and let them go play it in the playoffs. And I get it. You are, down the stretch, the hottest team in college football.
If you don't make the playoff as South Carolina, is it a failed year?
Not this year. I think we can already declare this year a success, can't we?
I think so.
We started this year off asking fans, Clemson fans, Carolina Panther fans, fans of other schools. We started this year asking the question, what are your highest and lowest expectations for the season? What is the lowest mark that you would be willing to say this was a failure of a year? What is the lowest mark that you would be willing to say this was a successful year? Do you know? Because I kept them. Do you know how many South Carolina fans last year didn't call in and say that making the playoffs would be a success or a failure? Do you know how many South Carolina fans called in and said that they believe the Gamecocks would be simply competing for a playoff spot? 0. None. Nada. 9. Nilch. None. Not a single South Carolina. This is absolutely a successful year for the Gamecocks. And I get it. Because it is a successful year and because you are knocking on the door, South Carolina fans are scrambling for any argument that they can come up with that would convince the committee to let you in. The problem is every argument that you have, Alabama has a counter for. Well, our schedule's tougher. Cool. We beat you straight up. Well, you lost to Oklahoma. You got dog walk. We dog walked Oklahoma. Cool. We beat you heads up. And when you get into the abstracts, the branding, the TV revenue, the ratings, yada, 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 Bama's got all that weight in their corner too. And now you add in the fact that there is, at least to me, and you know I can't stand them, but there is at least a compelling reason to put in Miami. And if SMU loses a close game to Clemson, that last spot could be eaten up by the ponies as well. This is going to be fun tonight.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
When you hear that time, sadly, you know that our time together is over for today. Time for What the X. The first thing that's Xing Rob Brown is Rob Manfred.
Okay. I'm actually going to get into this tomorrow. I was going to get into it today, but college football is king. There is a story going around right now that Rob Manfred, who, by the way, got flowers from me a couple of weeks ago because he proposed ending blackouts in Major League Baseball. Basically, creating a partnership with one of the streaming services where Major League Baseball would be able to provide in-market fans for a subscription cost a ticket to watch every game streamed live at home. I thought that's one of the greatest things Rob Manfred's done. I hate the fact that on Wednesdays at 2:30 in the afternoon, I can't watch the Braves because, again, I live 2.5 hours from the stadium. Rob, I can't pop in the car and head over for a 2 o'clock Tuesday first pitch. But with this, I would go pay my $20 a month, and I get to watch every home game that's not a national broadcast. Well, I was on board. Then today, it has been floated that Rob Manfred is discussing, in order to create excitement, a massive change to baseball rules by implementing the golden at-bat. Basically, during a baseball game, and the rules on this have not been legislated yet, obviously, because it's a dumb thing that's never been mentioned. But basically, during any given at-bat, one at-bat, any given game, you as a team can elect to send up any batter that you want for the next at-bat. Why are you applauding that?
Because I would watch that.
No, you wouldn't.
I
Stop
absolutely would watch it at least once.
Yeah, once. And
At
then you
least
go,
once.
oh, well, there's 26 other outs that aren't that. So I'm out. No, you wouldn't. This isn't going to get anybody new to watch. Now, the reason they did it was Guardians-Yankees last year. We get into the playoff. It's game 4, whatever it was. Up to the dish, down a run comes Juan Soto. Juan Soto goes, yeah, the thought here would be, hey, what if we get to the bottom of the 11th and nobody's hitting the ball? And a team goes, you know what? Screw this. We're over it. And they pull their golden at bat and they send up their best hitter, their all-star. Stop.
Juan Soto.
You can't manufacture the magic of that Soto at bat. The magic of that Soto at bat was that it just happened to be that Juan Soto was the guy coming to the dish. Stop, Rob.
Okay, the next thing that's Xing is stay humble.
No. What are we staying humble about? Is that just
it's a soccer thing. So I thought you would know. It's trending. I mean, it was Xing earlier. And
stay humble.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what we're talking about.
It's okay. Well, I mean,
listen,
you know, I expected you to know because
if you're a handsome devil, be proud of being a handsome devil. If you're a rich son of a gun, be proud being just whatever, dude.
All right. The next thing that's Xing is Deshaun Watson. I'm sure you know about him.
Yeah, I mean, I know who he is. I know Jameis Winston is out there. Jameis Winston, pardon me. Melting together my Browns quarterbacks. Jameis Winston going out there yesterday, throwing for almost 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, and also throwing 2 touchdowns to the other team. And yet, Lonzo's still a step up from what Deshaun Watson was doing.
Which is exactly why he is Xing. And finally, Florida State is Xing.
Y'all have a great day. Thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed it. They got a bunch of new coaches coming in.
Right. That's why
they got what? They got Gene Chizik.
And DJ Uiagalelei is coming back. Woo!
Have a good day. See you back here tomorrow. The Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate.
Wait for you to play something. You didn't.
My sounds are all gone.
Well, you may have had something queued up.
I was real mad. So I wasn't going. Oh, man. 4 hours in the books. Boys, way good job. Woo! Good game, everybody.
I guess your sigh was queued up.
Correct. All right, y'all. I got a jet because I have 3 meetings today. I'm not excited about any of them. One of them is to find out.
Why don't you just say, hey, we're leaving because the show's over?
Because I don't want people to think I'm just like, bleep you guys, I'm out. Like, I have a real reason to go be an adult.
Yeah,
that's why I have a quarter zip on today, because it's meeting day.
Yeah, the show's over. Well, nothing says meeting like quarter zip.
Right.
Okay.
This is the most business attire one can wear.
That's
is
not
the
true.
quarter zip.
You got a tailored Italian suit. You've told us about that.
Yeah, I can't break that out all the time. Y'all have a good day. Thanks for being here. You're all amazing people. Tell your friends about us. We're trying to be rich. Have a good day. Goodbye.